Namaste. Welcome to this special reading session of Navimers, where today we are going to read the the famous Uttarpada speech, which was delivered by Rishi Sri Aurobindo, and the same speech, the content of the speech was mentioned by J. Deepak during the Calcutta Debating Circle debate, which happened a few days ago. So a lot of people actually got to know the speech which was given by Rishi Aurobindo in Uttarpara. So we thought, why don't we read the whole speech rather than just the snippet which was mentioned by Desai Deepak, so that people get much more clarity what was the speech meant and how it actually reflected the nationalist at that time. So we have with us Niner and Rishi, who are going to Rishi going to read the speech for us, and then we will have also guests join us, who will be discussing with them the speech content and how 100 years, how relevant they are today in today's context. When Jesai Deepak talks about it, mentioned this as the epitome of Bengali masculinity, and Hindutva is nationalism. So the topic, Hindutva is nationalism, and how Rishi Aurobindo shaped the thought process of that whole generation. So Rishi, before we start reading the speech, can you give us a bit of context when the speech was given and the whole story behind it?
Namaste to all of the audience. Dada, Nenar also. So yeah, on this, I think it was just after his release from jail. The very infamous Alipur bomb case under which he was arrested, and for I think I may be mistaken about the period of incarceration, but it was a solitary incarceration. After that whole torturous uh, experience of his, uh, he got released, and then he was invited in a sabha at Uttarpara. It's approximately North Kolkata. We could say it's even more northern, towards northern direction. So over there, he was invited, and there he gave this speech. It's also called something akin to a realization which he experienced during his solitary confinement. The only solace that he had at that time was Bhagavad Gita, and he did a sadhana of Bhagavad Gita uh, practically over there while he was alone in that jail. And this speech is a reflection of that whole experience that he went through over there. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the PDF. It's freely available on all internet, so people can go and search for it. So if you see, it's a volume. So this volume is called Karma Yogi, and it's the signature of Sri Aurobindo. And this is the complete works of Sri Aurobindo, Volume 8. So you can get this as a PDF, free of cost, and also you can also buy it as well from Sri Aurobindo Ashram Trust. So this volume contains a lot of speeches of Sri Aurobindo. So today we are going to cover the one we are talking about, the speech given at Uttarpada. Uttarpada is a place in West Bengal. It's a very famous place where a lot of great revolutionaries were there, born there. A lot of well-known people, artists were also born in that place. Right now, it's not a well-known place, but at that time it was a hotbed of nationalist activities. So, as correct Rishi mentioned, so he came out of jail from a solitary confinement, and then he gave this speech. So, this is the Sri Aurobindo in Alipur jail, 1909. This is the picture that was taken. And now we will dive straight into the page 20 of the speech. I'll increase the font for people to read. Okay, Rishi, go ahead.
Yeah. So let me begin then. When I was asked to speak to you at the annual meeting of your Sabha, it was my intention to say a few words about the subject chosen for today, the subject of the Hindu religion. I do not know now whether I shall fulfill that intention, for as I sat here, there came into my mind a word that I have to speak to you, a word that I have to speak to the whole of the Indian nation. It was spoken first to myself in jail, and I have come out of jail to speak it to my people. It was more than a year ago that I came here last. When I came, I was not alone. One of the mightiest prophets of nationalism sat by my side. It was he who then came out of the seclusion to which God had sent him, so that in the silence and solitude of his cell he might hear the word that he had to say. It was he that you came in your hundreds to welcome. Now he is far away, separate from us by thousands of miles. Others whom I was accustomed to find working beside me are absent. The storm that swept over the country has scattered them far and wide. It is I, this time, who have spent 1 year in seclusion, and now that I come out, I find all changed. One who always sat by my side and was associated in my work is a prisoner in Burma. Here, Rishi Aurobindo is referring to Lokmanya Tilak. Another is in the north, rotting in detention. I think he's referring to Bipin Chandra Pal here. I looked round when I came out. I looked round for those to whom I had been accustomed to look for counsel and inspiration. I did not find them. There was more than that. When I went to jail, the whole country was alive with the cry of Bande Mataram, alive with the hope of a nation, the hope of millions of men who had newly risen out of degradation. When I came out of jail, I listened for that. I listened for that cry, but there was instead a silence. A hush had fallen on the country, and men seemed bewildered, for instead of God's bright heaven full of the vision of the future that had been before us, there seemed to be overhead a leaden sky from which human thunders and lightnings rained. No man seemed to know which way to move, and from all sides came the question, what shall we do next? What is there that we can do? I too did not know which way to move. I too did not know what was next to be done. But one thing I knew, that as it that as it was the almighty power of God which had raised that cry, that hope, so it was the same power which had sent down that silence. He who was in the shouting and the movement was also in the pause and the hush. He has sent it upon us, so that the nation might draw back for a moment and look into itself and know his will. I have not been disheartened by that silence, because I had been made familiar with silence in my prison, and because I knew it was in the pause and the hush that I had myself learned this lesson through the long year of my detention. When Bipin Chandra Pal came out of jail, he came with a message, and it was an inspired message. I remember the speech he made here. It was a speech not so much political as religious in its bearing and intention. He spoke of his realization in jail, of God within us all, of the Lord within the nation, and in his subsequent speeches also he spoke of a greater than ordinary force in the movement, and a greater than ordinary purpose before it. Now I also meet you again. I also came out of jail, and again it is you of Uttarpara who are the first to welcome me, not at a political meeting, but at a meeting of a society for the protection of our religion. That message, which Bipin Chandra Pal received in Buxar jail, God gave to me in Alipur. That knowledge He gave to me day after day during my 12 months of imprisonment, and it is that which He has commanded me to speak to you now that I have come out. I knew I would come out. The year of detention was meant only for a year of seclusion and of training. How could anyone hold me in jail longer than was necessary for God's purpose? He had given me a word to speak and a work to do, and until that word was spoken, I knew that no human power could hush me. Until that work was done, no human power could stop God's instrument, however weak that instrument might be or however small. Now that I have come out, even in these few minutes, a word has been suggested to me which I had no wish to speak. The thing I had in my mind, He has thrown from it, and what I speak is under an impulse and a compulsion. When I was arrested and hurried to the Lal Bazar Hajat, I was shaken in faith for a while, for I could not look into the heart of his intention. Therefore I faltered for a moment, and cried out in my heart to him, "What is this that has happened to me? I believed that I had a mission to work for the people of my country, and until that work was done, I should have thy protection. Why then am I here and on such a charge?" A day passed, and a second day, and a third, when a voice came to me from within, "Wait and see." Then I grew calm and waited. I was taken from Lal Bazar to Alipur, and was placed for 1 month in a solitary cell apart from men. There I waited day and night for the voice of God within me, to know what He had to say to me, to learn what I had to do. In this seclusion, the earliest realization, the first lesson came to me. I remembered then that a month or more before my arrest, a call had come to me to put aside all activity, to go into seclusion, and to look into myself, so that I might enter into closer communion with Him. I was weak, and could not accept the call. My work was very my work was very dear to me, and in the pride of my heart, I thought that unless I was there, it would suffer or even fail and cease. Therefore, I would not leave it. It seemed to me that He spoke to me again and said, "The bonds you had not strength to break, I have broken for you, because it is not my will, nor was it ever my intention that that should continue. I have another thing for you to do, and it is for that I have brought you here, to teach you and what you could not learn for yourself, and to train you for my work." Then he placed the Gita in my hands. His strength entered into me, and I was able to do the sadhan of the Gita. I was not only to understand intellectually, but to realize what Sri Krishna demanded of Arjuna, and what he demands of those who aspire to do his work, to be free from repulsion and desire, to do work for him without the demand, excuse me, for mm, the demand for fruit, to renounce self-will and become a passive and faithful instrument in his hands, to have an equal heart for high and low, friend and opponent, success and failure, yet not to do his work negligently. I realized what the Hindu religion meant. We speak often of the Hindu religion. of the Sanatana Dharma, but few of us really know what that religion is. Other religions are preponderatingly religions of faith and profession, but the Sanatana Dharma is life itself. It is a thing that has not so much to be believed as lived. This is the Dharma that for the salvation of humanity was cherished in the seclusion of this paradise form of old. It is to give this religion that India is rising. She does not rise as other countries do, for self or when she is strong to trample on the weak. She is rising to shed the eternal light entrusted to her over the world. India has always existed for humanity and not for herself, and it is for humanity and not for herself that she must be great. Therefore, this was the next thing he pointed out to me. He made me realize the central truth of the Hindu religion. He turned the hearts of my jailers to me, and they spoke to the Englishman in charge of the jail. He is suffering in his confinement. Let him at least walk outside his cell for half an hour in the morning and in the evening. So it was arranged, and it was while I was walking that his strength again entered into me. I looked at the jail that secluded me from men, and it was no longer by its high walls that I was imprisoned. No, it was Vasudeva who surrounded me. I walked under the branches of the tree in front of my cell, but it was not the tree. I knew it was Vasudeva. It was Sri Krishna whom I saw standing there and holding over me his shade. I looked at the bars of my cell, the very grating that did duty for a door, and again I saw Vasudeva. It was Narayana who was guarding and standing sentry over me. Or I lay on the coarse blankets that were given me for a couch and felt the arms of Sri Krishna around me, the arms of my friend and lover. This was the first use of the deeper vision he gave me. I looked at the prisoners in the jail, the thieves, the murderers, the swindlers, and as I looked at them, I saw Vasudeva. It was Narayana, whom I found in these darkened souls and misused bodies. Amongst these thieves and dacoits, there were many who put me to shame by their sympathy, their kindness, their humanity triumphant over such adverse circumstances. One I saw among them, especially who seemed to me a saint, a peasant of my nation, who did not know how to read and write, an alleged dacoit sentenced to 10 years rigorous imprisonment, one of those whom we look down upon in our pharisaical pride of class as Chotolok. Once more he spoke to me and said, Behold the people among whom I have sent you to do a little of my work. This is the nature of the nation I am raising up, and the reason why I raised them. When the case opened in the lower court and we were brought before the magistrate, I was followed by the same insight. He said to me, When you were cast into jail, did not your heart fail, and did you not cry out to me, Where is thy protection? Look now at the magistrate. Look now at the prosecuting counsel. I looked, and it was not the magistrate whom I saw. It was Vasudeva. It was Narayana who was sitting there on the bench. I looked at the prosecuting counsel, and it was not the counsel for the prosecution that I saw. It was Sri Krishna who sat there. It was my lover and friend who sat there and smiled. Now do you fear? He said. I am in all men, and I overrule their actions and their words. My protection is still with you, and you shall not fear. This case which is brought against you, leave it in my hands. It is not for you. It was not for the trial that I brought you here, but for something else. The case itself is only a means for my work and nothing more. Afterwards, When the trial opened in the Sessions Court, I began to I began to write many instructions for my counsel as to what was false in the evidence against me and on what points the witness might be cross-examined. Then something happened which I had not expected. The arrangements which had been made for my defense were suddenly changed, and another counsel stood there to defend me. He came unexpectedly, a friend of mine, but I did not know he was coming. You have all heard the name of the man who put away from him all other thoughts and abandoned all his practice, who sat up half the night, day after day for months, and broke his health to save me, Srijut Chittaranjan Das. When I saw him, I was satisfied, but I still thought it necessary to write instructions. Then all that was put from me, and I had the message from within. This is the man who will save you from the snares put around your feet. Put aside these papers. It is not you who will instruct him. I will instruct him. From that time I did not of myself speak a word to my counsel about the case or give a single instruction, and if ever I was asked a question, I always found that my answer did not help the case. I had left it to him, and he took it entirely into his hands. With what result, you know? I knew all along what he meant for me, for I heard it again and again. Always I listened to the voice within. I am guiding. Therefore, fear not. Turn to your own work for which I have brought you to jail, and when you come out, remember never to fear, never to hesitate. Remember that it is I who am doing this, not you, nor any other. Therefore, whatever clouds may come, whatever dangers and sufferings, whatever difficulties, whatever impossibilities, there is nothing impossible, nothing difficult. I am in the nation and its uprising, and I am Vasudeva, I am Narayana, and what I will shall be, not what others will. What I chose to bring about, no human power can stay. Meanwhile,
Rishi, yeah, Rishi,
yeah,
just pause for a minute. I think this is very interesting part of it. Correct. So there is a lot of questions which come arises that why all the revolutionaries who were engaged in physical fight with the British, correct, and a lot of them actually left the active militant movement, okay, and became sannyasis or went somewhere else. So, and there is a question mark is there, correct? Why these people who the British were so afraid of, why they abandoned their physical fight with the British? So, and people assume a lot of things that what happened in the jail, why after coming out of jail they become pacifist out of sudden. So, at least for Rishi Aurobindo, correct, we are like learning that his path of devotion, his path of so-called pacifism, in that way that he was engaged in himself in not so physical activities, but activities of the spiritual kind, which actually empowered lot of people, lot of many people. So correct. So Rishi Aurobindo was like going through this internal journey of churn, what he needs to do, what his life is for, and that is correct. Reflecting in this speech. So
absolutely. This is the case. The since he came from England, I think it's in fag end of 1890s. He gets his job in Baroda. From then onwards, he's delving into shastras, and he's studying and having his sadhya. Those actually accumulated at this point, I guess, in this solitary confinement.
yeah,
And at least in this case, we see.
Nina, you have something to contribute? Don't you have something to say?
Yes. So what I
Go ahead.
wanted to point out is how grave the situation actually was. The From the essay we don't realize it, but this happened in May 1909 in Bengal, around the
Hmm.
time when and the entire revolutionary movement and specifically this whole Swadeshi movement was popping out. The whole of Bengal, or you can say even many other parts of the country, they were rallying around the slogan Vande Mataram, which was basically popularized by him only, him himself, through all his editorials in newspapers and so
Yeah,
on.
correct. He had
Though
a
although it was
paper
given by
like,
Bankim
yeah,
Chandra, but yeah,
no, he
it was
had a I
popularized by
think
him.
a monthly. He had a monthly or a quarterly like paper he printed. That name was Vande Mataram. The paper itself, the
Correct.
publication.
And among many controversies and conspiracies that happened that same year, for example, that same year, one in 1908, this Alipur conspiracy happened. Same year in 1909, one Nasik conspiracy happened in which Savarkar was also related to that. His
Hmm.
organization called Abhinav Bharat, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Abhinav Bharat,
So
correct.
yeah, yeah. So the situation was like very dire from the side of the British, and they wanted a scapegoat, and they picked Sri Aurobindo because he was writing a paper, and yeah, basically, so at one end, you would think that Sri Aurobindo, after having all this fame from the paper, from his activism, from his revolutionary support, and all his ideological, you can say, extremism, he would actually be on a high of sorts. That the
Hmm.
movement itself cannot run with me in jail, with my friends in jail, with Tilak is somewhere in Mandalay, I think Mandalay or somewhere, and I think Bipin Chandra
Yeah,
Pal
yeah.
elsewhere. So he began doubting that whether the movement would really run or not. And when he comes outside, he sees that everywhere there are slogans of Bande Mataram already going. So yeah, and what I wanted to say was basically the whole jail experience for him. It was kind of a humbling moment that how much ever you might have been at the head of things, a movement or a kind of national feeling that arises out of it. It is always bigger than you are. So yeah, uh, first we have to understand how grave the situation really was, because the charges on Sri Aurobindo actually could have even given him a death sentence. He was probably going to be hanged if not for Chitranjan Das's intervening. This is a very serious thing to note. He doesn't point it out, but we must keep it in mind.
Absolutely. So, before we proceed to further read the speech, just one question, and this question also to audience as well. Like, do you think, like a lot of people, like a lot of revolutionaries, we have Raspberry Bose, we had Subhash Chandra Bose, we had many people who were actually like fighting a physical battle with the British administration. But do you think that Rishi Aurobindo became like through inspiration from Gita, where Narayan came to his heart and told him that this is not what you are born for, you to do something else. So that realizations which went to him, and he chose a path of spirituality, and that was a much more valuable contribution to nationalism, to Hindu consciousness, and also a greater gift to
So I would like
national
to
movement.
contradict a bit.
Go
I
ahead.
think my takeaway is a little different. But,
Mm-hmm.
specifically, I'll continue on the point which I started before, that this whole jailing experience, the 1 year of jail he spent in Alipur, that was a humbling experience for him. Why is it humbling? Because it made him realize that the national movement, it was larger than the leaders, it was larger than him, and him giving up on it was kind of irrelevant because the movement moved on, and uh, without him being needed as well. Basically, you can see even in the middle they talk about how his bonds to the his work were cut off by God Himself, so that he can be free to do his actual work. His actual work being doing sadhana on Gita in this instance, and further on other various topics, themes, tech, other books on other in the future. So yeah, that is my thing. That this whole experience was a humbling experience. So because it's not about him moving from a revolutionary to a peaceful path or anything. Not that, because it was not his job to do the revolution. It was somebody else's. That is my point.
Yeah, that understood. But correct. Recently, correct. You would have seen Mr. Rahul Diwan's very famous quote that when like when your house is on fire, okay, or when you have a fight, when you have an enemy at the gates, you cannot go and read Gita. Like he's saying that when the Hindu existence, the Hindu culture is at threat by Abrahamics, by multiple people. Now at that time, choosing to like be spiritual is inherently what do you say, bad, or inherently selfish. So do you think that they were correct, they were
No,
fighting the British?
absolutely. I disagree with this entirely, because
Okay, Rishi,
if we are
what's
not
your point of view?
spiritual, if we kind of
Hmm?
divorce ourselves from our religion and then fight, then what is the point?
Hmm?
It is a religion we are fighting for. Rishi, you can continue.
Okay. Yeah, of course. So, continuing on this line, Dada,
Hmm?
actually, Rishi Aurobindo himself answered this question.
Hmm?
He
Hmm?
was, I think, asked. We can get this actually in one of the books of Rishi Aurobindo. It's called Talks, Evening Talks, collected by A.B. Purani. In
Hmm?
there, this question is raised. So he answers this that
Hmm?
apparently he was observing something very crucial, but he did not heed it at the moment because he was all about political activism at that time. But later on, while in solitary confinement, he actually realized
Hmm?
that the national movement was going on, but what he was realizing is the elites who would be taking power later on. What kind of
Uh-huh.
policy would they be making? So he realized that the elites who would be taking power, they will completely be antithetical to Hindu values. It's
Mm-hmm.
very apparent, like he refers to it. The consciousness hasn't changed. We are asking for like national representation or self governance, all of these things. Even if we get it, it will be like again colonization, but by a brown Englishman above. So
Mm-hmm.
he says, let the movement go on. Let me get into this work, the work of changing consciousness, as he used to call it. So his whole mission in Pondicherry ashram, it begins like this, right? So integral yoga, life divine, then essays on Gita, various, and from his magazine, which used to come, I think it was a daily, Arya, that's the magazine. So he brings out literature and he puts out messages which are basically attacking the consciousness which was coming, the Occidental consciousness and and the ideologies or the morality which was coming in. He was attacking that and trying to put out a message which was universal Hinduism, if you can call it that. So he was trying to counteract that portion. Uh, I mean, you can very much observe that in his later works. So yeah, that would be my point. Maybe Nainer can speak on it, or Vimashda, you can comment on it as well.
No, I think because there is a correct, there is a misconception. Okay, sometime it might be right, sometimes it might be because a lot of people think that okay, Gandhi's pacifism was adopted by a lot of revolutionaries. Correct, there's also that thought.
True, true, true. He was not a pacifist. I must say this. He gave arguments for validity of taking up arms, which is also something which he had to deal with, amazingly enough. So this is an interesting segue, I guess. So he comments on that whole issue. I guess when Gandhi came back from South Africa, he wrote a book on Gita, right? And he tried to justify his own pacifistic political movement through Gita. So essays on Gita from Rishi Aurobindo came as a counter to it, and it was sent to Devdas Gandhi, I think younger son of Mr. Gandhi, and uh, Rishi Aurobindo asked him to get that book to his father and would like a reply on it. Mr. Gandhi never gave a reply on that book. We know why.
Mm.
So yeah, Rishi Aurobindo counteracted that movement. What he was thinking, like people will say, "पर वो तो pacifist बन गए." No, no, he didn't become pacifism. He went into another movement. Actually, he went into a sort of philosophical movement, if we can say that. So he was like, okay, let the political movement go on. Let me deal with the other portion, which is not being looked upon. And if we overlook,
I,
then we might get into much more catastrophe later. Yeah, that's the point.
okay, let's go ahead with the further reading and then we'll again discuss. And people who are channel members, I have posted the link in the members only post, so you can check it out and you can come to us, share your thoughts, share your perspective on the reading. And also, people who are not members, you can become members and support on our initiative. Go ahead.
Yes, Dada.
Hmm.
Meanwhile,
So, me,
he had brought me. Yeah. Meanwhile, he had brought me out of solitude and placed me among those who had been accused along with me. You have spoken much today of my self sacrifice and devotion to my country. I have heard that kind of speech ever since I came out of jail, but I hear it with embarrassment, with something of pain, for I know my weakness. I am a prey to my own faults and backslidings. I was not blind to them before, and when they all rose up against me in seclusion, I felt them utterly. I knew then that the man, was a mass of weakness, a faulty and imperfect instrument, strong only when a higher strength entered into me. Then I found myself among these young men, and in many of them I discovered a mighty courage, a power of self effacement in comparison with which I was simply nothing. I saw one or two who were not only superior to me in force and character, were many, sorry, I saw one or two who were not only superior to me in force and character, very many were that, but in promise of that intellectual ability on which I prided myself. He said to me, This is the young generation, the new and mighty nation that is arising at my command. They are greater than yourself. What have you to fear? If you stood aside or slept, the work would still be done. If you were cast aside tomorrow, here are the young men who will take up your work and do it more mightily than you have ever done. You have only got some strength from me to speak a word to this nation, which will help to raise it. This was the next thing he told me. Then a thing happened, suddenly, and in a moment I was hurried away to the seclusion of a solitary cell. What happened to me during that period, I am not impelled to say, but only this, that day after day he showed me his wonders and made me realize the utter truth of the Hindu religion. I had many doubts before. I was brought up in England amongst foreign ideas and an atmosphere entirely foreign. About many things in Hinduism, I had once been inclined to believe that it was all imagination. that there was much of dream in it, much that was delusion and maya. But now, day after day, I realize in the mind, I realized in the heart, I realized in the body the truths of the Hindu religion. They became living experiences to me, and things were open to me which no material science could explain. When I first approached him, it was not entirely in the spirit of the bhakta. It was not entirely in the spirit of the jnani. I came to him long ago in Baroda, some years before the Swadeshi began, and I was drawn into the public field. When I approached God at that time, I hardly had a living faith in him. The agnostic was in me, the atheist was in me, the skeptic was in me, and I was not absolutely sure that there was a God at all. I did not feel his presence. Yet something drew me to the truth of the Vedas, the truth of the Gita, the truth of the Hindu religion. I felt there must be a mighty truth somewhere in this yoga, a mighty truth in this religion based on the Vedanta. So when I turned to the yoga and resolved to practice it and find out if my idea was right, I did it in this spirit and with this prayer to him. If thou art, then thou knowest my heart. Thou knowest that I do not ask for mukti. I do not ask for anything which others ask for. I ask only for strength to uplift this nation. I ask only to be allowed to live and work for this people whom I love and to whom I pray that I may devote my life. I strove long for the realization of yoga, and at last, to some extent, I had it. But in what I most desired, I was not satisfied. Then, in the seclusion of the jail, of the solitary cell, I asked for it again. I said, give me thy Adesh. I do not know what work to do or how to do it. Give me a message. In the communion of yoga, two messages came. The first said, I have given you a work and it is to help to uplift this nation. Before long, the time will come when you will have to go out of jail, for it is not my will that this time either you should be convicted or that you should pass the time as others have to do, in suffering for their country. I have called you to work, and that is the Adesh for which you have asked. I give you the Adesh to go forth and do my work. The second message came, and it said, something has been shown to you in this year of seclusion, something about which you had your doubts, and it is the truth of the Hindu religion. It is this religion that I am raising up before the world. It is this that I have perfected and developed through the rishis, saints, and avatars, and now it is giving forth to do my work among the nations. I am raising up this nation to send forth my word. This is the Sanatana Dharma. This is the eternal religion, which you did not really know before, but which I have now revealed to you. The agnostic and the skeptic in you have been answered, for I have given you proofs within and without you, physical and subjective, which have satisfied you. When you go forth, speak to your nation always this word, that it is for the Sanatana Dharma that they arise, it is for the world and not for themselves that they arise. I am giving them freedom for the service of the world. When therefore it is said that India shall rise, it is the Sanatana Dharma that shall rise. When it is said that India shall be great, it is the Sanatana Dharma that shall be great. When it is said that India shall expand and extend herself, it is the Sanatana Dharma that shall expand and extend itself over the world. It is for the Dharma and by the Dharma that India exists. To magnify the religion means to magnify the country. I have shown you that I
Rishi,
am everywhere.
Rishi, hold on.
Yeah,
Rishi, just I think this is something I think that was quoted by Jai Deepak in the Calcutta CDC debate. Correct? This specific phrase or some other phrase?
No, that will come later on. I think.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the
but
last.
this is last part, correct? But this is something very important,
Mm.
correct? When the Rishi Aurobindo says, when it is said that India shall be great, it is the Sanatan Dharma that shall be great. When it is said that India shall expand and extend herself, it is the Sanatan Dharma that shall expand and extend itself over the world. It is for the Dharma, and by Dharma, India exists. This specific word, it is for the Dharma and by the Dharma that India exists. So, equating nationalism or national spirit to Sanatan Dharma. Now, currently, correct, a lot of people dissociate the Sanatan Dharma with nationalism. So, and we have a lot of politicians who say no, Dharma is separate from nation. What is your take on this modern terminology by political parties that India is a secular country, so Dharma cannot be equated with national spirit or nation itself?
Yeah, so if you ask me, this is a very disjuncted view, I think. It frames dharma in a very foreign framework, I guess, if we can say it from our perspective. It's
Yeah,
Judeo-Christian, basically. So, yeah,
yeah, because correct the secular part and correct the Judeo Christian concept, correct, of separation of church and the administration, because it's a kind of a thing which doesn't exist within us, correct? Us Bharatiyas, correct, as a dharmic people, correct? Dharma, administration, nation, community, all gel together to create a syncretic identity of who we are. So we do not have the other as a concept of philosophy. We don't have a other in our thought process, but they do have a other that they need to keep separate to live or make a nation out of that.
yeah. Uh, they have a two-tier system, right? Uh, so, wait a minute. Yeah. So this two-tier system where the religion is transcendent and there is this earth, the earthly world, which is where we live. These two are disjointed and have to be governed separately. I think there is this verse, right, in Bible. We can get that. So he says, Jesus, I think, if I have to paraphrase,
Hmm.
give unto the Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto God what belongs to God. So this is the bifurcation that you're talking about, because apparently the
Yes,
what is godly, it is pure, it's spiritual, and it's not filled with sin, whereas the Caesar part or the world part, it's full of sin and vices and it's gross. So it needs to be separated always. That's not so in our
abs-
case. Our God is in, what should I say, immanent in the world. He's not some
yeah,
separate being outside.
yeah. Dinner, you have something to say?
No, nothing on this point, but yeah, on you can continue.
Okay, one more thing we need to actually, because this is something which is important. Correct. Also, Anand has mentioned that J. Deepak should have used this specific part of the speech to actually give it back to Mr. Ashutosh, what he was talking about.
Actually.
So, that aside, one more thing. We have, correct, we have so-called Hindutva organizations who are talking in a very disjointed way. Okay, they say that Bharat is already uh, like a Hindu Rashtra. Okay, and in the same breath, they say that okay, dharma or the nation is separate from your dharmic identity. So, why do you think this confusion comes even for political parties who are so-called Hindutva political parties. There are organizations who are called Hindutva organizations by many people. Where this confusion comes from, Rishi?
Dada, it would be a bit, what should I say? My response to your question would be a bit like a question to you. So,
Okay.
don't you think our leaders, so-called
Hmm.
leaders, tend to define Hindu in terms of geographical identity rather
Geographic,
than some,
spiritual,
yeah, Dada.
correct existence. Yeah, but that
Yeah,
that
they
also
don't.
is, yeah, that also is not, see, correct, in Sanatan dharma we have, correct, we have this called sacred geography, and sacred geography is part of our scriptures, correct? Jambu Deepa is part of the sacred geography. So,
Absolutely.
but yes, but like the way the Judeo-Christian principles, correct, they have separated the nation from the spirituality of the individual or the community. Okay. Same way, have the, like the Hindu organizations we have, they have also separated the sacred geography from the dharmic existence of communities, of people, of individuals, as two separate things. Why can't they be same?
Yeah, exactly. Why can't they be same? Because that would be far more quote unquote Hindu. It's not
Hmm.
Hindu actually to make a distinction between geography and the sacred. As you said, it is a sacred geography. It's a samas. It's a joint word over here. It's not a separate issue for us. But there is this problem, na, ki, the Hindu word is also used for those who live in this nation or believe in this nation. But when we are referring to the nation, then we are separating out from dharma. क्योंकि अगर धर्म ले आए तो you know what happens. Some set of people will, like the secularists, they will have too much of problem. नहीं नहीं नहीं, we are of this nation, we think about this nation, but we are not at all dharmic. So how can you call us Hindu? In that sense, they then need to say, oh no, okay, so it's not yet, I guess, a Hindu Rashtra, but still it's a Hindu Rashtra because Hindus are living in majority or something. I don't know. It's very confusing, Dada. You can please enlighten us on this, or Nenar,
Yeah, yeah,
or
we also have Anand. Anand joined us. Anand.
nice.
Hi. So you mentioned sacred geography, but
Hmm.
you understand sacred geography is not in terms of religious geography. Sacred geography is in terms of karma geography. This is a karma bhumi. Or if you notice, all our sacred geographies, because in the perspective of Sanatan Dharma, the universe is
Hmm.
our sacred geography. So tomorrow, if we
Hmm.
go
Okay.
to Mars,
Hmm.
the Bhagwan is there also. He doesn't leave.
Yeah.
Just because we've left the world doesn't mean in the Hindu idea, Bhagwan has not left. He's not only stuck in on earth. He's there as well, right? That's my point. My point is that
Okay.
sacred
Oh,
is our karma, where we look at historically our karma, where we do and we implement it. That's how I see it. Because see,
okay.
when Indians went to Southeast Asia, their sacred
Hmm.
geography became that region. They built their Angkor Wat. That became their
Hmm.
sacred
Hmm.
geography. The problem is we are looking at it from ethnocentric lens, ethnic lens. That's the
Hmm.
mistake. We have allowed that ethnic lens to permeate our society. Even this is where my disagreement with Sagarkar is so important, so significant. It is his definition of uh, karma bhumi is good until you realize there are Hindus worldwide, and they also want to join in the idea of dharma that Hinduism provides for, and the definition keeps them out of it, right? It excludes them.
Yes,
So we have
Anand.
to
But
expand our definition of karma and dharma beyond our geography. It works
okay.
for
So
nation
let's,
building, work for anything beyond
yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay. Let's take this question or a comment from Neon. Isn't the use of Hindu as a geographical identity a kind of colonial hangover? It wasn't the way we used to see. Belief of sacred geography doesn't apply to everybody. What do you think? Is it a hangover? The second geography term is a kind of a hangover of a
No, I don't
colonial
think this is.
No,
space.
I think no, I think he is talking about Hindu as a geographic identity being a colonial hangover. He's talking
Yeah.
about that.
Hmm.
No, it is not. It's a political rationale. It is not a. It's not a hangover of. It's not a colonial hangover. It's a political rationale. It makes a lot of sense. You want to unite politically. You define your political Hindu political identity from your geography. It's difficult to define your political identity beyond the geography. Like you can't have political identity with someone sitting in Burma until you define the geography, right? You say, okay, these Burmese are part of our political identity. I'm saying like that. So you need that. You need a
Yeah.
definition. Like today, even though the what do you call it, the ancient Iranians were our sister cultures, right? Doesn't mean
Hmm.
we can define them as part of our Hindu geography because they have dissociated themselves from our geography. They've said we are different from you, right? Today, if you talk to an Iranian, or Zoroastrian, even though they may say, "Oh, we are similar," they'll think they're superior to us. They essentially think they're superior to Hindus, right?
They do. Yep,
So
yep.
that is it's a political term. It's not a religious or a spiritual term in the current Hindu geographic term. So it makes sense to Savarkar because he's defining a political movement. He's not defining a spiritual or a religious movement.
Yeah, Savarkar theories are political in nature. They are not in the realm of spirituality or scriptures. Correct. He was a atheist by himself. He was an atheist, like in the dharmic sense.
He's Nirishwarvadi,
Yeah,
yes.
So
yeah.
His focus was
yeah,
the real world actions that one could do, not the spiritual. His focus is not spirituality. His focus is not that at all. Yeah.
yeah. So in that context, in the dharmic context, he was a kind of like for a better word, we call him atheist because there's no other word in English to define it. But yeah, in our shastras, we can call Savarkar Nirishwarvadi, a better word.
Basically, Nastic.
Yeah,
No, no.
Nastik is also a word. No,
It's not
Nastik again
Nastik.
is a not
He was not a
Nastik is not
Chaivak, he
not
was
the
not
word.
a Jain, he was not a Buddhist, he's not Nastik. He's a Nirishwarvad. He's not a Nastik.
No, but Nastic means you do not believe in the Vedas.
Yeah, but I think he believed in the Vedas. He definitely did.
Uh,
He just didn't believe in God.
uh, there's a problem with this because he has chided against rituals and all, citing Vedas also. He has said ki, Upanishads and all, we have read too much of them. Now they are supposed to be kept in showcases and all. So yeah, there are contradicting things, but okay, we can.
Of course, he was not a spiritual, he was not a scholar of religion, obviously. It's very clear.
Yeah, yeah. He, we have to bother with his political ideology at the end of it.
Exactly, that's
Yeah,
my point. So
as
he,
a
That
Savarkar is a political idea of his framing. It's
no,
beyond
we
that.
like simple word. We do not have to learn philosophy or Hindu religion or dharmic panth from Savarkar. What we can learn from Savarkar is the
exactly,
political way of thinking.
Exactly,
So we don't have
exactly.
if we
absolutely.
want to if we want to learn philosophy, dharma, Gita, spirituality, then we go to Rishi Aurobindo, not to Savarkar,
Exactly.
because they have their own
Yeah,
domains that we need to be there. We don't have to
yep,
equate them in
I
that
completely
way.
agree.
absolutely.
Okay, so let's continue the reading
So
and then Anand,
only
go ahead.
small part.
Mhm.
Yeah, so only small
Go
part
ahead, go
is
ahead.
left. Maybe we can read it and we can discuss. Okay. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
finishing.
Go ahead.
Hmm. So okay,
To
from
magnify,
this yeah,
to magnify.
to magnify. Okay. Yes, magnify this. To magnify the religion means to magnify the country. I have shown you that I am everywhere and in all men and in all things. That I am in this movement, and I am not only working in those who are striving for the country, but I am working also in those who oppose them and stand in their path. I am working in everybody, and whatever men may think or do, they can do nothing but help on my purpose. They also are doing my work. They are not my enemies, but my instruments. In all your actions, you are moving forward with knowing which way you move. You mean to do one thing and you do another. You aim at a result and your efforts subserve one that is different or contrary. It is Shakti that has gone forth and entered into the people. Since long ago I have been preparing this uprising, and now the time has come, and it is I who will lead to its fulfillment. Till then is what I have to say to you. The name of your society is Society for the Protection of Religion. Well, the protection of the religion, the protection and upraising before the world of the Hindu religion, that is the work before us. But what is the Hindu religion? What is this religion which we call Sanatana, eternal? It is the Hindu religion only because the Hindu nation has kept it, because in this peninsula it grew up in the seclusion of the sea and the Himalayas, because in this sacred and ancient land it was given as a charge to the Aryan race to preserve through the ages. But it is not circumscribed by the confines of a single country. It does not belong peculiarly and forever to a bounded part of the world. That which we call the Hindu religion is really the eternal religion because it is the universal religion which embraces all others. If a religion is not universal, it cannot be eternal. A narrow, a narrow religion, a sectarian religion, an exclusive religion can live only for a limited time and a limited purpose. This is the one religion that can triumph over materialism by including and anticipating the discoveries of science and the speculations of philosophy. It is the one religion which impresses on mankind the closeness of God to us and embraces in its compass all the possible means by which man can approach God. It is the one religion which insists every moment on the truth which all religions acknowledge, that He is in all men and all things, and that in Him we move and have our being. It is the one religion which enables us not only to understand and believe this truth, but to realize it with every part of our being. It is the one religion which shows the world what the world is, that it is the Leela of Vasudeva. It is the one religion which shows us how we can best play our part in that Leela, its subtlest laws and its noblest rules. It is the one religion which does not separate life in any smallest detail from religion, which knows what immortality is and has utterly removed from us the reality of death. This is the word that has been put into my mouth to speak to you today. What I intended to speak has been put away from me, and beyond what is given to me, I have nothing to say. It is only the word that is put into me that I can speak to you. That word is now finished. I spoke once before with this force in me, and I said then that this movement is not a political movement, and that nationalism is not politics, but a religion, a creed, a faith. I say it again today, but I put it in another way. I say no longer that nationalism is a creed, a religion, a faith. I say that it is the I say that it is the Sanatana Dharma, which for us is nationalism. This Hindu nation was born with the Sanatana Dharma. With it, it moves, and with it, it grows. When the Sanatana Dharma declines, then the nation declines. And if the Sanatana Dharma were capable of perishing, with the Sanatana Dharma, it would perish. The Sanatana Dharma, that is nationalism. This is the message that I had to speak to you.
Yeah, so this is the
Dear
last
listeners.
part which Desai Deepak had spoken in his debate. Okay, Neon is has some questions. Yeah, Anand, you want to share some thoughts on Ninner, and then I will take the comments.
See, I will. If you look very, there's a very clear thread in Aurobindo's thing that there is no nation, Indian nation, India without Sanatan Dharma, and he's very clear about it. There's no confusion that there is the casteless Sanatan Dharma, caste Sanatan Dharma, and Hindutva this way. He's not even talking about Hindutva. He's just saying Sanatan Dharma. There can be no nation, Indian nation, without Sanatan Dharma. If Sanatana Dharma perishes, nation perishes. His clarity is so clear. He's more clear than all the scholars who have come after him. I think even more
Yep.
clear than even Vivekananda, in my opinion.
Okay, so there is a very interesting comment from Neon. See, he is asking us, Upenda, I have a question to you. The question is that Hindu Sanatanis need to develop an expansionist mindset. That is the that is the only way we can protect our core homeland. Hold on. Protect our core homeland, which is most sacred. Neon, to answer this question, actually, it is not realization. Correct. Uh, if we just think for a second that the Sanatan Dharma was born here, okay, the Hindu faith was born here, then how it traveled to all across the globe. So, if you see the sacred geography which is mentioned in our scriptures, it goes beyond seas, it goes beyond oceans. So we were an expansionist, in not in a very like a bad way, but in a way that we went to the shores of different continents, countries, places, and we taught people the eternal dharma, and they accepted the dharma. So we were expanding. So it is not something which is alien to us or foreign to us. We have lost that ability, we need to regain that ability, but we were there always, we were expanding, we were always working with people, working with various races, various nations, and we taught them the way of dharma to them. The Chinese, the Burmese, even the Philippines, they all were there. Yes, Shastri, welcome.
Namaskaram.
Namaste. Yeah, I mean, we did. We were always expanding, spreading our thoughts, right? So, if you read like East Asian history, one thing you realize is that um, uh, Dharma, you can call it Buddha Dharma, but it's still a form of Dharma that's native to our land, uh, occupied a space when Confucianism was in its deep decline, right? Zen Buddhism came to Japan when both the Confucius culture and also the corresponding Shinto religion were not only in conflict, but they were also in deep decline. Same thing can be said about Korea as well. So I think that we need to embrace some of that mentality again, right? Where we um, spread our principles, but let people interpret them in their own context and in their own region. But when it comes to India, I think we need to be absolutely certain what kind of, I'll put it this way, when you spread our principles abroad, we should allow people the freedom to interpret the way they want it to be. But when it comes to the interpretations of those principles within India, we should basically decide on what interpretation is canonical, what makes Sanatan Dharma, what makes Bharat Varsha um, very clear and very evident. ये अपना अभी जो this mixed kind of like Sarvadharm Vada Pav revivalism that's sort of going on should be policed really well.
Yes, so Niner, do you have something to say?
Yes. So exactly on Munshi's point that we in India itself have to be clear about our principles, that from where we get, which authorities we really um, abide by, which authorities we don't abide by. That we have to be clear on, because if there are Hindus in the future outside India, they will look upon the Hindus in India as their authority. So yeah, we have to be clear about these things.
I mean, it's not just a sort of authority, or the more better word to use would be adhikar, right? But it's also sort of maintaining like a certain sense of ritual piety, and also ritual originalism, right? So one thing, I think yoga is a pretty good example of this, right? Like yoga outside of India is quite different from yoga within India, right? So when uh, a practitioner of yoga visits, let's say Rishikesh, right? They need to abide by the local diktats and local culture of yoga over there, not sort of recolonize it with their own like reinterpretations that they developed abroad. There has to be appreciation of the source.
Exactly correct. So we have this puppy yoga, doggy yoga, cat yoga. So and Shastri, where it comes from? Like let's take this up. So people have the freedom to reinterpret the way they want to, but do you think that a degree of freedom needs to also to be like asserted that okay, this is the Yoga Sutras. Now based on this domain framework of Yoga Sutras, you reinterpret it, but you cannot have a doggy yoga and cat yoga, correct? That is not yoga at all. So like where we have missed the bus on that part, our dharma gurus, our mathas, like have they failed in that way?
No, I mean
So no,
your dharma gurus and your matas are not authoritarian dictatorial figures, right? They just give you a pravachan, and they give you the freedom to do what you want, right? Basically, what does your dharma adhikaris tell you? They say XYZ is the way of dharma, right? If you can go against it, but there are consequences that you will face, right? So um, let me give you an example, right? A dharma adhikari might come to you and tell you like, stop smoking cigarettes, right? He won't impose that upon you, right? He'll just tell you like, stop smoking cigarettes. It's bad for you. It's bad for your lungs, right? But the ultimate freedom still lies within you. You can either listen to the dharma adhikari and basically go like, okay, he has a point. I'll stop smoking cigarettes. और यू कैन जस्ट से लाइक ये कोई और बुढ़ा है, मैं बात नहीं मानूंगा, मेरी मेरी जो मर्जी है उसके हिसाब से मैं करूंगा, राइट? सो आई थिंक वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हेन वी basically look at cat and dog yoga or hot yoga and put the blame on our dharma adhikaris. They are the least, they're people with the least amount of control, right? They're not like the pope or something like that. They can't pass, or a mullah, they can't pass a fatwa saying cat and dog adhikari is bad. But on the other hand, what I'm trying to say is that let's say uh, I am one of those like hipster yoga practitioners, right? I come from a very fancy uh, dog and a cat yogi studio, right? Where a cat is doing yoga on top of me while I'm doing my yogasanas. But if I come to Rishikesh, right, the practitioners there, it's their duty to basically say, it's okay, you come from a different place, you do cat and dog yoga there. That's not our way here. And that's the most important thing we need to set straight for dharma within India. This is ultimately what dharma should um, practically boil down to, is that hey, you have your dharma, we have our dharma. You have, when you come to our place, we expect you to abide by some of those tenets, some of those rituals, some of those um, restrictions, because they have deeper meaning and symbolism for us, just like how a cat and a dog yoga might mean to you.
Yeah, okay, understood. But my question is that let's look at it practically. Practically, the West has the marketing, the money, and everything, and with their might of marketing and narrative and all the money they have as of now, they will establish that dog yoga is a real yoga, and people will say, okay, dog yoga is a real yoga. Then what we will do? What we need to do?
I mean, this has always been a contestation for generations and generations, right? Uh, there's nothing you can do about it besides sticking to your own principles, right? If ultimately it's going to be like, see, here's how people, you have to think about it sort of like a pipeline, right? People in the West get attracted to the fact that there's a dog and a cat yoga. People here have lots of pets, right? They want to bring their pets to the activities. That's fine. Uh, but a certain portion of uh, that population will always be like, okay, I'm done with this casual stuff of cat and dog. I want to go into the essence and the core of yoga. They will come to India. They will come to Rishikesh. They will come to seek their yogic gurus, and that is the point. That is the time and place in place where you actually correct them, right? Um, the other thing you also need to realize is that I think we need to stop this like Western navel gazing, right? What do I mean by that? Like, oh, वेस्ट में ये बोल रहे हैं वेस्ट का narrative ये है we need to battle there are some things you need to battle but 90% of it just ignore, right? Because if you ignore you give them less. The narrative thrives um on people, on eyes, on people believing in it. When you ignore it you don't believe in it. So that's the other thing I do want. That's another thing, right? And the third thing is like we should, irrespective of what they say, we should still keep at what is fundamentally true to us, right? That yoga, uh, Patanjali Yoga Sutra is yoga. Uh, it might have evolved to make things much more acceptable, but the essence of yoga is still Patanjali. It's not cat and dog yoga, right? In the same way that uh, we insist on all our mathematical uh, mathematics that's been developed within India, right? I mean, uh, not too long ago, even 5 years ago, every math department in the West would basically say algebra came from the Arabs.
Hmm.
That the modern numerals was basically an Arabic invention, even 5 years ago.
Hmm.
But that's
Hmm. Hmm.
completely flipped, right? So we shouldn't be so stuck in the present and become pessimistic about the future because of, oh, the present narrative says that we have not done anything.
Okay, let me give you a counter things. You have been to Japan recently, correct? So the whatever Japanese techniques, philosophy, or other Japanese what we call like yeah, they are called philosophies. So these Japanese techniques, philosophies, which are exported to the West, correct? The Japanese have built institutions. They have written books. They have written journals. They have like universities where they teach the right manner. That when it travels to the West, they retain their essence of Japanese and correct practices the way they are done. So they have not been distorted. If you see the Western people who practice Japanese techniques, they retain their essential Japanese character in terms of the way they need to be done. They have not been distorted, but ours is being distorted. Why is this dichotomy?
I think it's again a form of navel gazing as well, right? But again, I don't want to be completely dismissive
Hmm.
because there is a certain kind of history to how Bharatiya culture has basically propagated to the West and how it has been consumed, right? So with Japan, interestingly, the West has always had a sort of like Japanophile philic culture. Right?
Hmm.
So a certain section of the West was always amenable uh, to becoming Japanese, even if they're not Japanese. When it comes to Indian or Bharatiya art culture aesthetics, right? Um, it came in through a different route. It basically what happened is that one, we were a British colony, so all the uh, portrayal of our own culture always had a very anglicized colonial lens, right? We've never been able to express ourselves. Very rarely have we been able to express ourselves, right? So, uh, for example, like the Hindu view of Hindus in the West uh, is primarily comes from Swami Vivekanand's travels to the West in the late 1880s, right? But if you ask Westerners here how they came to know about Hinduism, they won't even know. They won't even tell that there's someone called as Vivekananda. It's not there in their picture, right? It usually they'll say that, oh, it came with the Beatles or it came with
Hmm.
hipsters. Right? So the way in which uh, culture was propagated is different, right? Like it's not an institutional thing. It's not anything else. I mean, some of it is a fact of history, right? And we have to acknowledge that. And eventually, like over time, we have to recontort it in a way that makes it more that reconnects it with its essential cores. That takes time. It's a matter of time. Even Japan uh, and the what you would call the core essences of Japanese culture um, did not did not become like this imbibed up until
Hmm.
recently. It took a lot of effort. Took a lot of like cultural soft power, enormous amounts of anime, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, the funny thing is like anime is actually quite a mature art form, and there's actually a lot of philosophical discussion that goes on within it. Uh, so
The Japanese anime, the stories and the characters are actually kind of a reinterpretation of our dharmic text. If
to
you
some
if you see
extent,
in that,
yes. To some
yes.
extent,
Hmm.
yes.
Hmm.
But they have their own native way of thinking,
Yeah, yeah.
looking at things. So, but
Yes, yes, yes.
what?
Absolutely. But they import a lot of our text. Like it's a correct, it's a reinterpretation, but still they like the core ideas come from our text because we have been exporting our cultural soft power to millennia to these lands.
Yes, and they do acknowledge that, right? But they also do not hesitate to make it their own.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's how it needs to operate. That's how it has been operated over the millennia and millennia.
Exactly. Uh, but what I'm trying to say is that I think we look at the successes of other cultures and we don't realize what it took to get there. And the other thing we don't do is we don't look at what how history has shaped the way in which our culture is perceived today. Right? The two very different things, but ultimately it's meant to inform you better.
Uh,
Understood. Go ahead, Anand. Go ahead.
yeah, one thing you have to make a big distinction. The two empires that were never colonized by the West were never colonized by the Turks either.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Thailand and Japan,
Mm-hmm.
not a single Turk stepped foot on their land.
Hmm.
So they basically didn't have to do. They didn't have what decades of subservience to another power. So they already were very and Japan especially had to go through waves and waves of attacks first by the Chinese, then by the Mongols via the Chinese. So if you observe, they never actually let the Brits onto their land. They assumed that they were superior to everyone because they've been beating people back from their lands forever.
Yeah, actually, the Japanese were extremely wary about the British. They saw them
Exactly.
as a real threat, right? They genuinely did see them as a real threat, and they were paranoid about European powers. That
They paranoid with
paranoia,
everyone, especially
yeah, yeah,
Europeans.
yeah, especially European powers, because um, one thing I realized in my trip to Japan was this the late mid to late 1800s was a very transformative time in Asia. Right? India was completely subjugated. That freaked a lot of powers in the region. India was completely subjugated by 1857. By the 1850s, Indonesia was also a colony. The French were making inroads in Vietnam. These were all trading partners with Japan. India was a cultural partner. Like Japan used to send a lot of monks back to India to study in Bodh Gaya. That access got shut out. So I think there was a lot of paranoia about European powers in that 1820 to 1890 time. I mean, that's also one reason why the Meiji Restoration even happened in that period, was this intense amount of churn that was going in Asia.
No, and not just that. If the thing, very important thing is their attitude towards foreigners was not the way our attitude was. We were very welcoming of foreigners. We always have been throughout history. Look at every single generation, whether it is the Greek times, Indo-Greek times, then later to the Buddhist times from China and East Asia, and then later even the Turks. To a certain extent, we allowed Turks to come to our land. While Alexander, even though Alexander defeated, a lot of the Greeks were able to like migrate into India and settle large parts of India, right? So we always were very welcoming to foreigners. That in a way that was Japan had the benefit of the fact that they were not very welcoming, except some
Um,
groups.
I mean,
They're not always
sure,
welcoming, not
you
always.
could sort of say that it's also a function of being a
That's why
homogeneous
the
society.
Koreans and Chinese have such negative opinions of Japanese because
Sure,
they were very
you could there is some element of truth to that, right? But I would say like our culture is more similar to the Chinese culture in the sense that
yeah,
in China,
was yeah,
there's always this level of confidence that any foreigner that comes into China will eventually get cynicized.
that is true.
Similarly, we used to have this our uh, we used to have this level of confidence, right? So anybody who comes to India would eventually get Sanskritized. I and basically two forms of colonizations have basically destroyed that confidence, and you can see some of that call to action that you need to rebuild this confidence coming directly from Aurobindo himself, right? He's when he's talking about what I interpret is basically when he's talking about Sanatana Dharma and nationalism, he's basically talking about a process of Sanskritization.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I
Not
mean
sense.
cultural Sanskritization. I don't mean like, sabko betke Ved padhao Sanskritization. A good example of this is basically the Yuan dynasty in China, right? They were Mongols, but they were Sanskritized, sorry,
Hmm.
Sinicized.
That's interesting.
Okay, so now one more question to everybody, to the audience on the chat, and also here who are talking to us. So, when we are like, I'll take a little bit of time. So, correct, Japan was able to do this because of Japan Foundation. Sasri, correct?
Mm,
A lot of soft power is it is because of Japan Foundation putting billions and billions into the soft power game, which which is played by everybody.
no, I think it's also they take ownership of their own culture, right? So Japan Foundation is not just like an outward looking organization. It's also inward looking, right? A lot of their grants are offered to Japanese academics, Japanese speakers, right? And it's also meant for consumption in Japanese. Um, and that aspect should not be ignored, right? I mean, the soft power, the foreign soft power component is not is a small component of what they actually do.
Okay, so we also have Bijitda with us, but Bijitda, before you like speak, this is a very interesting comment from Neon. Also, I'm not envious of Japan culture image at all. They are fetish objects of white people like South Koreans, even worse than being enslaved in a way. Look how emasculated their men are.
This is pure jealousy. I think we should move away from all this. Like, I
No,
mean,
I actually disagree significantly with this idea of Japanese people. Japanese
Mhm.
people actually are way more, what do you call it, how to say, ethnically diverse than we think. Like there are Japanese people with a lot of body hair and they have no problem with it. Like this problem with body hair and this fairness and everything is more mainland. I've observed Koreans, Chinese people, they have this issue. Japanese people, I've observed, they have a lot of different body types, face types, color, skin color. Like they're not this. And some of course use what you see in social media, but a lot of Japanese don't have this issue. I don't see this. I'm sorry. I met a few Japanese people and I don't see this.
no, they're pretty
Okay,
accepting, like in the sense that um, it's as dharmic can get, right? Like in the sense they deeply care about their local culture, their local traditions, uh, more than the people, like
You know,
and how they look.
I was watching this Japanese show where a guy from Tokyo goes to Osaka. I think, yeah, Osaka, and his behavior is seen as rude by them because he's very quiet and he doesn't want to talk to anyone. And the Osaka people are like, you must be friendly and you must be chit chat like the way we love to talk and make fun with each other. And that it's like a small island nation, but there are such significant differences in their cultural identity. Like what is good morals, right? Even in an island nation, with we can easily get from one part of the country to other part of the country very quickly.
Yeah, like in southern Japan, like they prefer you being quiet. In Tokyo, like is quiet is considered being rude. Um, in southern Japan, if you go to a restaurant, conversations kept to the minimum. You're supposed to whisper when you talk. That's not the case in Tokyo. I mean, these there's a lot of diversity of etiquette and also subcultures in Japan.
Exactly.
Even though like people look monolithic, they uh, I mean they look monolithic. There's still a lot of diversity. But at the end of the day, all Japanese people agree on certain philosophical or rather principles of what makes Japanese culture or Japanese civilization Japanese, and uh, they are ruthlessly protective of it. Right? They don't care about what the other person says. They simply tell that this is Japanese culture. You come from somewhere else, that's okay. But this is our land. This is how we follow our tenets. And that's something we do need to imbibe from them. Is that to Atiti Devo Bhava bhi karo, but also remind them that hey, भारतीय संस्कृति ये है भारतीय संस्कार this is Bharatiya sanskar. There is an expectation you abide by it.
okay, Bijitda has joined us.
Hello.
Namaskaram.
Namaskar, namaskar. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, we can hear you.
So basically, I think this Aurobindo's speech, na, Uttar Parad speech. So I think this is the least provocative of all the speeches and writings that he has offered to us. ठीक है, it may be a very controversial statement, but if you read like his like letters and editorials in Jugantor, those are very provocative. I mean, this is nothing in front of those speeches. Probably this got famous because it has this word Sanatan Dharma with it. Um, and it is claiming ki okay, Sanatan Dharma is the essence of Hindu nation. I mean, of Bharat and all these things. But ठीक है मतलब uh, what to say मतलब you also you have to put it in the context of Savarkar's 1923 Hindutva book, right? So here Aurobindo is actually, acha, Aurobindo was
This
also,
is before
matlab,
that. It's way before that.
this is no, so this is 1909.
Yes.
Savarkar's Hindutva was 1923, I guess. Um, but the point here is he's, matlab, Aurobindo here is approaching from this whole dharmic perspective, right? मतलब औरोबिंदो जैसे है वो बिल्कुल ही ही इज बेसिकली व्हाट डू से ही इज डिसेंडिंग फ्रॉम हेवन, ठीक है। बट जैसे सावरकर वाला जो हिंदुत्व था इट वाज प्योरली मतलब वो मिट्टी से ऊपर उठ रहा है, राइट। मतलब इट वाज अबाउट दिस हिस्टोरिकल कॉन्शियसनेस अगेंस्ट सम सॉर्ट ऑफ अ हेगिलियन अप्रोच कि भाई ये हमारी भूमि है, जो भी जितने भी कारनामे हुए हैं उसका एक सेंट्रल मकसद था, राइट, कि जो बाहर जो अब्राहमिक इन्वेजन हुआ है उससे इस देश को बचाना। While this is Aurobindo was a matlab in modern term, if you say he was very much secular, by the way. Although Anushilan Samiti had this restriction कि भाई वहाँ कोई मुस्लिम घुस नहीं सकता, म्लेच्छों का वहाँ अलाउड नहीं था, घुस एडमिशन नहीं था वहाँ। बट औरबिंदो हैज ऑलरेडी मतलब औरबिंदो हैज रिटन मेनी टाइम कि भाई हमें हिंदुओं का इंटेलिजेंस और मुस्लिमों का बाहुबल चाहिए। We need the physical strength of Muslims and the wit and intelligence of Hindus to basically for the salvation of our nation, so to say.
I disagree. I disagree. The Muslims
डिसएग्री
don't
की
have
बात
physical.
नहीं, ये उसने लिखा है।
हाँ, but
डिसएग्री
लिखा है,
की
but
बात नहीं।
I disagree. Muslims don't have
हाँ
physical
तो
strength. There's only one
नहीं
group who
नहीं
had
नहीं,
physical strength,
अरे
that was
भाई उसने
Turks.
लिखा है, मैं इसको कॉन्टेक्स्ट में रख रहा हूँ। वी कैन हाँ। तो बेसिकली अगेन इट वाज बेसिकली द नैरेटिव पेडल बाय ब्रिटिश ऑब्वियसली। अम, जैसे बंकिम चंद्र का हमने उस दिन पढ़े थे ना, बंकिम चंद्र क्लियरली लिख रहा है कि जो मुस्लिम होते हैं डरपोक होते हैं। सो ऑब्वियसली इट इज अ पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ द राइटर, बट औरबिंदो उस तरह से देखते थे, ठीक है कि ऑल्सो दिस इज 1909, Lord, maybe
Hmm.
some Muslim says Ritik Roshan from Jodhagor. तो हाँ, तो क्या बोल रहे थे 1909। सो 1909 वाज दैट टाइम ऑफ ह्यूज टर्मोइल एज वेल, राइट, जहाँ पे आप देखोगे, मतलब आपको आप लोगों को शायद ये कहानी पता होगा कि सो औरबिंदो घोष, इफ यू डोंट नो, वाज अ वेरी ब्रिलियंट स्टूडेंट, ठीक है। सो आई थिंक जो आईसीएस एग्जाम होता था उसमें वो फर्स्ट, ये उसको मिला था, फिर वो लंदन गया, वहाँ पे शायद ही रैंक्ड फर्स्ट, ऐसा कुछ हुआ था। एंड सो आई थिंक ही वाज इन ट्रिनिटी कॉलेज, बाय द वे वो कैम्ब्रिज में पढ़ाई किया था शायद। एंड तो वहाँ पे वो टॉप किया था। एंड फिर वहाँ से ही केम टू वरोदा, ही स्टार्टेड टीचिंग समवेयर। फिर ये सब चीज़ों में ही गॉट एंगेज्ड। नाउ आई थिंक इन 1908 और समथिंग, जहाँ पे ये अलीपुर जो कॉन्स्पिरेसी था, अलीपुर बोमा मामला, अलीपुर बॉम्ब कॉन्स्पिरेसी, वहाँ पे उनका जो ऑब्वियसली चित्तरंजन दास वाज द लॉयर, बट जस्ट इमेजिन दिस सीन, ओके, कि दिस इज मतलब इससे अच्छा मूवी का स्क्रिप्ट हो ही नहीं सकता। सो दिस टॉपर Aurobindo Ghosh, he's standing in this convict box, right, as a convict, जो जज बन के उसके सामने बैठा हुआ है, जो जजमेंट सुनाएगा, वो ऑब्वियसली ब्रिटिश था, एंड ही स्टूड सेकेंड। ठीक है, वो जो जो भी कुछ वो आईसीएस का कुछ एग्जाम हुआ था, उसमें जज जो था उसके सामने जो जजमेंट सुनाएगा वो सेकंड हुआ था, और ये बंदा टॉपर था। सो जस्ट इमेजिन द टेंशन इन द कोर्ट, राइट? फिर ऑब्वियसली ये इसको मतलब इन स्पाइट ऑफ सो मेनी थिंग्स, राइट, ढंग का कोई तो मिला नहीं विटनेस या फिर अपना जो प्रूफ वगैरह, तो इसको छोड़ दिया गया अरविंदो घोष को। और ढंग का कोई टेस्टिमोनी इसलिए भी नहीं मिला और विटनेस इसलिए नहीं मिला क्योंकि आपको पता होना चाहिए कि उस टाइम पे काफ़ी आग फैल चुका था। मतलब द मोस्ट फेमस केस बीइंग जो नरेंद्र गोस्वामी, तो वो राज साक्षी बन रहा था, रॉयल विटनेस कहते हैं, क्या बोलते हैं उसे। सो
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
नरेंद्र,
रॉयल रॉयल विटनेस।
Crown's
हाँ
counsel, Crown's witness on it.
हाँ, तो नरेंद्र गोसाई शायद औरबिंदो घोष का नाम लेने वाला था, और वो अगर नाम ले लेता तो ये खत्म हो जाता, इसको ही वुड हैव बीन हैंग्ड। तो नरेंद्र गोसाई को मारने के लिए दो बंदे, बहुत ही आई थिंक 17-18 साल के होंगे, सत्येन बोस, दिस इज नॉट द physicist Satyam Bose, but another guy Satyam Bose and कान्हाईलाल दत्तो। सो ये लोग फिर आई थिंक ये लोग जेल में थे। इनको किसी भी तरह वो बंदूक बंदूक मिल गया था, ठीक है, वो भी शायद पहुंचाया गया था जेल के अंदर। तो इनको गिरफ्तार कर लिया गया था, लेकिन फिर इनको आई थिंक इनको ये नौरेन गोसाई का कोई तबीयत वबीयत कुछ खराब हुआ होगा या कान्हाईलाल दत्तो का खराब हुआ होगा, तो फिर ये मिलने का बहाने कर रहे थे कि हमें नौरेन गोसाई से मिलना है। तो फिर उसको फिर नौरेन गोसाई को इन दोनों ने गोली मार दिया, और फिर नौरेन गोसाई खत्म हो गया, और इनको भी ये कानाई दत्तो और अपना जो सत्येन बोस, इनका फांसी हो गया। ठीक है, तो इस तरह से मतलब औरोबिंदो घोष भी बच गया। बारिंद्र घोष का शायद कुछ फांसी वासी हुआ था या फिर उनको दीपांतर हुआ था उनका,
काला
लेकिन
पानी।
वो जो पूरा, हाँ, काला बनी हुआ था। कॉलीफ्लावर फार्मिंग, कॉलीफ्लावर फार्मिंग भी चल रहा था आई थिंक। सो बेसिकली ये जो पूरा कहानी था, ये अपना अनुशीलन समिति जो कोलकाता वाला था, इसको रोकने के लिए एक मुस्लिम कोई सीआईडी या मतलब जो इंटेलिजेंस का ऑफिसर, उसको ये कार्यभार दिया गया था, और वो काफ़ी हद तक वो बंदा सफल भी हुआ था। तो आई थिंक उसको भी गोली मारा था। ठीक है, इन लोगों ने उसको भी गोली मारे थे। तो उस टाइम पे तो बहुत ही खतरनाक, मतलब यू शुड रीड दिस चैप्टर ऑफ इंडियन हिस्ट्री एंड द हिस्ट्री ऑफ बंगाल एक्चुअली, कि ये अनुशीलन समिति क्या उस टाइम पे मतलब कि मतलब कांड मचाए थे। ठीक है, आ, नहीं 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 हुए तो
दे
उसके
वर
बाद औरबिंद, हाँ।
दे वर बजरंग दल प्रो मैक्स।
हाँ, बजरंग दल तो आसपास नहीं आ सकता यार, मतलब।
नहीं, प्रो मैक्स हमारे यहाँ तो अभी आज तो वही है, और तो कोई है नहीं, तो हु माई टेक नेम करे, वही है
हाँ, आप सोचो
हु
ना,
वी कॉल्ड।
17-18 साल के बच्चे ये सब कांड कर रहे हैं, मतलब। और ऊपर उसके पैरेलल अपना बाघा ज्योतिन चल रहा था, है ना, ज्योतिन्द्रनाथ,
हम्म।
उसका भी बहुत सारा कांड है उधर का भी। इधर भगत सिंह चल रहा था।
नहीं
तो
मगर सॉरी, एक चीज ध्यान पे देना चाहिए, राइट, कि जब 17-18 साल के लोग कांड कर रहे हैं, उसके लिए उसके पीछे एक थोड़ा इंस्टीट्यूशनल सपोर्ट भी रहता है। सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, राइट, एक 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 जगह आप देखा देखा जाए तो अभी, अब जहां पर हम पढ़ाई नहीं करते कि उस जमाने में सरकार का क्या हाथ था, ये पढ़ना भी जरूरी है, राइट। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, राइट, आई थिंक बंगाल में उस समय पे एक राइट हुआ था, एंड द ब्रिटिश वर बेसिकली टर्निंग द दूसरी तरह देख रहे थे, जहां पर मुसलमान इंस्पेक्टर्स और प्रोसिक्यूटर्स आके उन लोग सबको काट रहे थे। और वहां पर अपना जज भी बोल रहा था, तुम हिंदू लोग ऐसे कांड करेंगे तो मैं क्या करूं, कट जाओ
राइट,
मुसलमानों से। आई मीन, सो
राइट,
दिस दिस एस्पेक्ट ऑफ हिस्ट्री, जहां पर uh, deep institutional apathy raha should be studied very deeply, because the thing is like
मैं
that
इस बात पे
institutional.
कहूंगा कि ब्रिटिश का जो इंस्टीट्यूशनल एपैथी था टुवर्ड्स हिंदूज, आई थिंक अभी जो अपना इंडियन स्टेट है उनका इंस्टीट्यूशनल एपैथी फॉर हिंदूज आर मतलब मच लार्जर, ठीक है,
Yeah, yeah.
No, I agree, but
मच
can I
लार्जर.
can I say one thing?
हाँ.
One thing you understand with the Britishers, institution apathy was a consistent system throughout their history, even in their own country. The
नहीं
same
अभी
institution apathy
शायद
that
अभी तो सबसे
Irish,
ज्यादा है यार,
Welsh.
अभी
No,
सबसे
I
No,
ज्यादा.
no.
mean,
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. Our saving grace was the fact that they were only institutionally apathetic. They were not like the Belgium or like the Dutch or like the Portuguese. The British were so institutionally apathetic, they just documented everything and didn't care about what happened. They
राइट.
were so apathetic. They literally, I'm telling you, our saving grace was their institutional apathetic. They let all these documents remain. If they were Portuguese, they would have burnt everything and not given us any evidence. They would have kept everything
राइट.
hidden.
no,
They had
I think
nothing to
that
do with the colonizers.
let's not attribute goodwill to the British when
I will
they
attribute
had
this.
when they had sufficient amount of malice, right? So
Because they had.
two things you need to understand about colonial British administration. One, that their primary motive was just purely profit, profit, profit.
Yeah, that's
देश से
my point.
जितना पैसा लूटना है लूटो, right? The second thing was like institutional apathy was basically a policy for them.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
what I'm
an
saying.
intentional policy. It was not unlike, say, the current Indian state, जहाँ पर institutional apathy is actually a result of Babudam culture, corruption, and just like trying to.
षड़शत्रु, सिक्स
But where did they learn
एनिमीज,
it from? Where did they learn
सिक्स
it from?
एनिमीज, मिलॉर्ड्स, मैकोलिज्म, मार्क्सिज्म, मुल्ला, मुफ्ती, मौलाना, मिशनरी एंड मीडिया द
Sure, sure, sure.
लिटरेट्स.
Let us give some let us give some
All of
credit
them.
even to our so-called Hindu politicians. Okay, they
They're
also
self-serving.
enjoyed
या
making
या
all the
दे आर अशरफ,
No,
money
दे
making
आर
the first.
प्रैक्टिसिंग अशरफिज्म ना.
No, no, no. The first thing is they're just self-serving, right? उन लोग को क्या है? उनका माँ बेटा, माँ सॉरी, माँ बेटा बीवी, और छोकरी और अपना बंगला. This has been the apathetic act. This is basically self-serving attitude है. उन लोग को
exactly.
दूसरे से कुछ भाग लेना देना नहीं है, right? And this institutional apathy, you can, sure, the church, Marxism, वो सब भी है, but the primary factor is that मेरे लिए मेरे को घर पे बंगला चाहिए, उसमें मुझे एक BMW 7 सीरीज चाहिए,
Exactly.
4 BMW 7 सीरीज चाहिए, राइट? मेरे पास हर क्वार्टर मुझे 2 इंटरनेशनल वेकेशंस चाहिए, एंड दिस इज व्हाट ड्राइव्स द इंस्टीट्यूशनल एपिथी, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग एल्स इज सेकेंडरी टू दैम. पहला
Exactly.
पैसा, पहला self interest. That is the first motivating thing for our institutional apathy here. But that brings me back to my previous point, right? Institutional apathy for the British was an intentional policy,
No, I
right?
agree.
And the second thing is that they could have gone down the Portuguese and the Belgian route. They did in other places. If you go to Canada, they were completely Portuguese about this place.
Yes, that's true.
The issue was that if they did it in India, you would have two basic problems. One, you'd lose your golden hen, that you're constantly looting to get your money. The second thing is it's bad press. So they essentially outsourced it, and the outsourcing of their sort of, let's call it, Portuguese policy, of lack of a better term, manifested itself through institutional apathy. So एक मुस्लिम इंस्पेक्टर उसको गुस्से में आ गया तो वो 4 हिंदुओं को कातिल कर देगा, तो लोकल क्राउन प्रोसिक्यूटर विल नॉट इवन एक्नॉलेज इट.
Exactly.
कोर्ट पे हिंदू जज रहेगा, बट उसको और उसको लेजिटिमेसी, थोड़ा लेजिटिमेसी देके, क्योंकि वो एक डिसइनफ्रेंचाइज बंदा रहेगा, वो किसी ने तो उसके साथ कांड किया रहेगा 3-4 पीढ़ी पहले. सो उसका वो भड़ास, वो कातिल करते समय, जजमेंट देते समय वो भड़ास निकालता था. And this is
Arey,
how.
today also they use the same argument. So, for example, when we say that something has happened, so someone is reporting wrong information about us, जो इंडिया के बारे में रॉन्ग इन्फॉर्मेशन दे रहा है, इंस्टेड ऑफ एक्नॉलेजिंग द मेरिट ऑफ द आर्ग्यूमेंट, जैसे आपके ही लोग बोल रहे हैं भाई that you're horrible, because they've created this entire group of this people who are apathetic towards your own community or your own country, just for kissing ass and getting that bangla or that connection or that friend, गोरे लोगों का friend बनना है.
And Islam
Still
is
going on.
very clear
It's still
about
going
these
on.
kind of munafiq people.
Yeah, I
Islam
mean,
knows
Still
how
going.
to handle those.
no, everybody else is taking advantage of it, right? Whether it's Islam, whether it's Marxist, whether it's
Exactly.
No,
church.
I'm saying the people in the Islamic fold who get the craving to criticize Islam. Islam knows how to deal with them. Hindus don't know it. Matlab, Hindus haven't yet
No, I don't think
developed
so.
a
I think
mechanism
not,
to
no, no,
to
no, no.
to basically
I don't
control
agree.
and
I don't
curb
agree with
them.
this. I don't agree with this. In India, we are very clear because we have our borders, our conflict is very clearly defined. But if you go see in other places in the world, Islam also doesn't know. You don't understand. They also very confused because this is very well deployed against them. You think about it, right? The entire region in the Middle East is so unstable because of one group only. They've kept it unstable, but only one group is kept unstable, the Europeans. Why do you want to do? Why do you want? It's very easy for them to calm it down. It's just some military force, they can calm it down overnight. But no, they keep it unstable because then the other large groups in the world should not have benefit of that stability. The minute those places get stable, they try to destabilize it again. Have you noticed? Even now they destabilize. The minute a place gets stable, they destabilize it again. So Islam doesn't know. They think they know. They think they know the enemy, but they're non-stop getting destabilized because they for them they actually. So yeah, for me, I don't see the
No,
Islamic
I think
enemy
in
as being
Islamic
part.
country, no one has the guts to criticize Islam from an Islamic
That
nation.
is different. That's local. I'm saying in
It's
a in
not
a in
different
a
now.
grand
In
in a grand
you see
strategy way, they don't know
people
anything.
like
They should
Stalin and
be
One
these
by
morons.
guys, right?
one by one by one.
So
Okay, go
Stalin,
ahead.
In a
for
grand
example,
strategy
right?
method,
Stalin
they don't
or
know anything
Akhilesh Yadav, for example, these guys have the guts to matlab, talk shit about Hinduism from
because
inside
we let
India
them. Because we let them. That's why
because
Hindus
we.
let them talk shit. That's the problem.
That's what I'm
एक
saying
थप्पड़
now.
मारेंगे तो
Islam
they'll
knows
stop
how to
talking.
criticize. Islam know how to curb or control these kind of people. Hindus
No,
don't.
not Islam. It's individual people who are like that. इन
No,
हिंदूज
no,
में
no.
एक भी बंदे के
In
पास balls नहीं है कि वो
It's
अपने
a
बिलीव
clear
के लिए
parallel, dude.
जाके
It's a clear
कुछ करेगा,
parallel. I
कुछ
don't
नहीं
know.
करेगा.
There cannot be a Stalin, a Muslim Stalin, inside Saudi Arabia. It's not possible.
अरे
कि
थे
वहां से
भाई,
बोल दे कि
अरे
I
अरे
am
थे,
going to eradicate I am
there were
going to
some,
eradicate
no no,
Islam. No one can say it from Saudi Arabia. Yaar. It's a
आज
plain
नहीं
thing.
सकते,
I
but
don't know why
there
you are
were
not
people like
agreeing
this.
to it.
Yeah, no, I disagree with you. There were people like this in Muslim world at one point of time. Now अब तो चला गया है, but there were people like this at one point of time. In
They got killed, bhai. There were
नहीं,
people
they
like
didn't get
this.
killed.
So you are saying there were people like this who said
अरे
ki we are
नहीं,
going to
खराब नहीं.
eradicate Islam from inside Saudi Arabia. Are you
अरे
claiming that?
they make fun jokes of the prophet. Hold on, let me see. One second,
No
I'll give you the
one
name.
see they all got killed, bhai.
नहीं
See,
भाई,
I,
No
देखो.
I,
one can
see,
say
I
from inside Saudi Arabia that I want to dismantle Islam.
see.
No one has the
Biljita has a point, right? Like, sure, the Saudis might say might crack jokes amongst each other about the prophet, but they don't let any outgroup do that,
हाँ, that not disagreeing with that.
right?
But
And
they
I'll
are
so,
give
not
you
going
so
to
some
let
example.
they're not
the
going to let
other
an.
point is the prophet it basically he belongs to some community right मतलब वहां पे भी क्या बोलते हैं, कबीला होता है ना सो कबीला के हिसाब
Hmm.
से वो जोक मार सकते हैं बट दे
Like the
कैन
Baathis used to
say
do
कि
that,
we
man.
are going to dismantle
Egypt में
Islam.
the Baathis used to do that.
क्या इजिप्ट में
Egypt, even Saddam Hussein was not a religious man. He was technically he was an atheist as well.
did he
तो
ever
ये लोग
say कि I am going to
अरे
dismantle Islam is dengue did he say these kind of words
they don't need to say it, they just need to do it. वो
अरे
करते हैं.
it matters ना how explicit these guys Stalin is being explicit about it he's being मतलब vocally explicit about what he is talking कि this
We
is
are
dengue
trying to
malaria,
see
Sanatana is
purity of the
dengue
world.
malaria. We have to dismantle Sanatan Dharma or Sanatana. He is very explicit in saying that. I am saying मतलब कौन सा मुस्लिम नेशन में कौन सा मुस्लिम है जिसका गट्स है कि बोलना है कि आई एम गोइंग टू डिसमेंटल
आज नहीं
इस्लाम
भाई,
और दिस इज
I'm not
डेंगू
talking about
मलेरिया
today.
और दिस कोई बोल ही नहीं
I'm not
सकता
talking.
भाई मतलब वी कैन नॉट आर्ग्यू अबाउट दिस इज फैक्ट इस पे तो आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं हो
I mean,
सकता
he has a
I'm
point,
not talking
right?
about
Like,
today.
no,
I'm
no,
not talking about
Bil,
today.
Biljita has a point, right? The thing is like, हम रास्ते में आके दंगा फसाद नहीं किया है. We didn't. I mean, not that I'm saying we should do that, but there is some value in demonstrating damage to the state that you cross a certain line, we will destroy you as a state.
एक मिनट. So
राइट
इसका नाम इस ये नाम ले, check this name. Abu al Mari. Mari. He was born in Syria and he was a controversial rationalist. He rejected all religion. He actually was literally, you look at his comments,
व्हाट
some of
वाज
his
द ईयर एंड
poems.
व्हाट हैपेंड टू हिम
He lived his life, he died peacefully
व्हिच ईयर
in his hometown. This is in 1057. I'm not
अरे
saying
भाई
now, I'm
साहब
saying long time ago when Islam was not like the way it was like right now. And he was a
1057
vegetarian.
Syria dude come on
1071, come on, dude.
yeah, I think you proved my point actually.
My point is not about today. I'm not talking about today.
Like,
I'm saying
if
it's historical.
No, we are
Salman
talking about today,
Rushdie
dude.
lose
We
Salman
are talking
Rushdie
about today.
loses an eye. Salman Rushdie, despite being mildly Islamist, loses an eye. I mean, it shows
Ah,
the
now
level of.
Salman Rushdie is actually taking on Hindutva because this is the now the soft pillow, na?
That I agree. I'm not disagreeing. I think you guys you're talking past each other. My point
This
is different.
fucker, this अरे फिर बोलो ना भाई कि एक आंख गया तो क्या फिर तो मतलब फिर तो करेज और बढ़ना चाहिए तुम्हारा कि आजा मार ही दे मैं तो और बोलूंगा बट दिस फकर ही टुक ऑन हिंदुत्व ना just to show कि I am so progressive and all this shit. मतलब I have much more respect for Taslima Nasrin in this regard.
No, no, I
She
agree.
has a
Completely agree.
very consistent point of view about all religions. She is like and she is very vocal about the fact कि यार हिंदू धर्म का तो मैं कभी भी कुछ भी बोल सकती हूँ. She says this.
I mean,
She's,
there's a Korean British Christian content creator. वो साला टिकटॉक या इंस्टाग्राम पे जाके अपने गर्दन पे ही hangs pork meat, basically bacon,
Right,
and then
right,
he
right, right.
गाली देते रहता है वो.
हाँ
उसके
वो तो
पास भी बहुत हिम्मत
यूके का है
है.
ना वो यूके का है यूके में पूरा चैनल के में जाके बोला था ये सब तो
हाँ, exactly. But
चैनल कुछ देर के
let's
लिए
let's get back to Aurobindo and regain
अच्छा
our.
हाँ Aurobindo and this thing right so I was trying to make this point कि you have to put it in the historical context and I don't know मतलब if you read for example Savarkar you can see कि maybe this guy got inspired somehow from the line of thought that Aurobindo started right मतलब for the first time probably Aurobindo was the first guy who could say कि भाई ठीक है ये जो nation है ये सनातन धर्म पे बनेगा एंड देन सावरकर मतलब वेंट ऑन टू से एक्सप्लिसिटली कहा है ये जो इस भूमि को अपना पितृभूमि पुण्यभूमि मानता है वही हिंदू है मतलब ठीक है इट स्टार्टेड टू साउंड डिविजिव बट इट वाज समथिंग व्हिच वाज अ फैक्ट सॉर्ट ऑफ कि ये जो जमीन को बेचना नहीं चाहता मतलब जो इसको पुण्यभूमि पितृभूमि समझेगा वो इस भूमि को बेचना नहीं चाहेगा या फिर उस भूमि को कब्जे के हिसाब से नहीं देखेगा ठीक है
no,
ये दूसरा पॉइंट
Savarkar
है
is never divisive. That's the whole
और एक
problem.
हाँ हाँ और एक मिनट और एक पॉइंट मैं बोलना चाहता था हाँ थर्ड पॉइंट ये था कि अच्छा मैं आई थिंक ये पहले मेंशन कर चुका हूँ कि हिंदू का और एक डेफिनेशन मुझे पता चला एंड आई थॉट कि इट इज़ वेरी रिलीवेंट एटलीस्ट इन मॉडर्न कॉन्टेक्स्ट आज जब हम लोग ठीक है इंडिया है एक सेकुलर कंट्री है जहाँ बहुत सारे हिंदू रहते हैं बट लेट्स से वी वांट टू एक्सपैंड ठीक है एंड वी वांट टू एक्सपैंड आवर रिलीजन और व्हाट एवर आवर धर्म यहाँ पे आई थिंक जो जिस तरह से जब बोलते हैं ना कि सिंधु से हिंदू आया तो हिंदू का मतलब यही है कि जो सिंध के इस पार रहते हैं। ये कुछ हद तक अपना सावरकर ने भी ये यूज किया है टू शो द हिस्टोरिकल कंटिन्यूअम ऑफ हिंदुइज्म। बट हमें थोड़ा अगर इसके पार जाना है ना, कि हिंदू को एक ग्लोबल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में रखना, ना कि एक जियोग्राफिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में रखना, तो वहाँ पे हीनम दुष्यति हीनानी दुष्यति थी हिंदू, ये मेरु तंत्रम का एक मिला है मुझे। एंड आई वुड लाइक टू पॉपुलराइज दिस डेफिनेशन ऑफ हिंदुइज्म कि हिनानी गुनानी दुष्यति थी हिंदू, जो हिण गुण को जो दुष्यति मतलब जो हु एबहॉर्स द लोलीनेस, द हीण गुना, ही इज द हिंदू। मुझे ये बहुत अच्छा डेफिनेशन लगता है, क्योंकि इसमें गुण की बात है, तो जो हिंदुइज्म का जो एसेंस है कि ठीक है, सत्व और रजस को तुम प्रमोट करो, हिंद गुण को नाश करो, इस तरह से इट गिव्स अ इट इट टॉक्स अबाउट मोरालिटी विदाउट नेसेसरीली एट्रीब्यूटिंग टू एनीथिंग हेवनली और गॉडली। जो मॉडर्न कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ये थोड़ा स्पिरिचुअल भी है, लोगों को ये ज्यादा अपीलिंग भी लग सकता है, जो जेनजी या जो भी
और
बोलते हैं इनके वास्ते।
it also does not cast judgment.
यस।
I mean, our current cultural zeitgeist में सब जजमेंट के हिसाब से ये होता है।
राइट।
तू
और इसमें अगर
तू
कोई
मार्क्स का
एक्सक्लूसिविज्म
बात
है।
नहीं मान तू मार्क्स का बात नहीं मानता है तो तू असुर है।
राइट।
तू मेरा डिवर्सिटी इक्विटी इंक्लूजन फ्रेमवर्क तू मानता नहीं है तो यू आर इविल।
राइट।
No, I
सो
I reject. I don't
सो
agree.
बेसिकली जो
I
हिंड गुना
prefer
है
that.
ना, इट बेसिकली एक्सक्लूसिविस्ट, इट इज एन एक्सक्लूसिविस्ट फिलोसफी और डेफिनेशन, बट इट एक्सक्लूड्स दोज who apparently believe in हिंद गुना। नाउ यू ऑब्वियसली हैव टू डिफाइन व्हाट इज हिंद गुना, वो तो एक अलग डिस्कशन चला जाता है, बट मतलब एब इनिशियो जो पोजीशन ये डेफिनेशन दे रहा है, इट इज वेरी गुड। ठीक है। और इसमें वो स्प्लिट भी नहीं है, सो टू से जो स्किज्म होता है, राइट, कि अब्राहमिज्म के बुक से जो स्किज्म आता है, हिस्टोरिकल डिस्कन, ये हिस्ट्री का सहारा भी नहीं ले रहा है। दिस इज अ डेफिनेशन व्हिच कैन बी applied at each point in here and now in historical continuum, right? So इसलिए
I
मुझे
think I prefer we do the Japanese way. This is our way. If you don't like it, fuck off. I prefer that.
नहीं, कौन सा हुए, बट व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन?
Japanese way. The Japanese way. This is what we define as our dharma. You go fuck off if you don't like it. नहीं चाहिए
नहीं,
तो get the
दैट्स
hell out.
दिस इज हाउ, मतलब क्या?
No, no. Okay, Anand is trying to say is that Japan has created institutions. Japan has created a set of rules, rituals, frameworks. So if you're going to follow these, it is Japanese, or else we will not recognize those as Japanese things.
Exactly.
It,
That's
it,
my
it,
point.
it's done through soft power. It's done
राइट,
through
राइट, राइट।
institutions. It's done
बट
through
द पॉइंट
governments.
इज, हाँ, द पॉइंट हियर इज कि वो तो बाद में बनेगा ना। पहले लोग तो इसी पे झगड़ रहे हैं ना, कि हिंदुइज्म क्या है, हिंदुत्व क्या है। वो इंस्टीट्यूट
No
तो बन ही
झगड़ा.
जाएगा।
I'm
जापान
saying
क्या बोल
झगड़ा
रहा है कि
नहीं.
ठीक है,
Okay,
हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशन है, इंस्टीट्यूशन के हिसाब से ये जो है यही शिंटो है। ठीक है, इसको मानना है मानो, ना मानना है वही, मतलब दूर भागो, राइट। द
नहीं
पॉइंट
नहीं.
इज
You
कि
नहीं पर
इफ
एक
इफ वी
एक चीज
हैव
में
अ वर्किंग डेफिनेशन
you
लाइक
understand
दिस,
what I'm
जहाँ
saying.
पे
I think you're not getting what I'm saying. It's like,
ना
for example, imagine other Japanese debating with a samurai what a samurai is. What does a samurai say? Fuck you. I'm a samurai. I decide what a samurai is. If not, I will take my sword and cut your head off. That is the reason why the Japanese have such strict, well-made institutions. Because even among their own people, they don't allow the debate for certain things. Certain things are certain things. That's it. You
no
need
I
that kind of
think
clarity if you want to keep push back against the external forces.
no I
I'm
think
sorry. I
the
believe.
I think the issue is that we tend to think that institutions bring order. That's not true, right? Japanese institutions did not come out of a vacuum, right?
I
हमारे
understand.
इसमें, and the other thing is, मैं Vijita, you weren't there, but basically what I said is that you need to ruthlessly defend your principles, right?
Exactly.
और हर एक जगह का एक पद्धत होता है, एक एक संस्कार रहता है. You have to defend that. उसके लिए तुझे इंस्टीट्यूशंस की जरूरत नहीं है. अब फॉर एग्जाम्पल, राइट, लाइक एक मीनाक्षी अम्मन कोल के अंदर आप जाओगे तो आपको एक पर्टिकुलर पद्धत से आपको ड्रेस करके आपको एंट्री मिलेगा
Exactly.
गर्भगृह के अंदर वो unless you defend that principle ruthlessly you're not going to conserve anything. Right? And
Exactly.
you don't need an institution for that. Meenakshi Amman called ka institution. It's not an I mean, in the
But see,
current
this
context, it would
example
not
is
be an
trivial
institution.
example. This example that you are giving is a very trivial example.
It's not
यहाँ
very important.
obviously अगर मंदिर के अंदर जाओगे उसका जो रूल होगा उसके हिसाब से आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि लोग फालतू में मतलब
It's
एसोल्स भी
not
रहते
trivial
हैं.
anymore. It's a real
No, no,
threat
no.
these days. People
No,
call
it
it
is
as
a real
ridiculous
threat.
thing.
It is a real threat.
No, no. I am saying from a hypothetical point of view कि मंदिर का जो रूल है वहाँ एक कस्टम है वो हमें पता है. हिंदुइज्म इतना एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है इसके ऐसे रूल पता नहीं है. टू द एक्सटेंट कि आप अगर कोई किसी भी तरह डिफाइन करना चाहोगे उसका रेसिप्रोकल स्पेस रेसिप्रोकल एग्जांपल आपको मिल जाएगा. इन दैट केस हाउ टू डिफाइन सच ए रिलीजन. अब तो एक अप्रोच है कि यार नहीं ठीक है सिंध के इस पार जो है वो लोग ने जो बनाए थे वही हिंदुइज्म है. ठीक है चलो उसके हिसाब से
नहीं
चलना है.
बट मैं आप मंदिर के हिसाब से देख रहे हो मैं योगा के हिसाब से भी मैं भी वही बोल रहा था राइट देयर आर सम बेसिक प्रिंसिपल्स इन योगा दैट वी हैव टू रूथलेसली डिफेंड इन आवर ओन लैंड. I mean,
Yeah.
you're saying that, temple is a trivial example, but I think that triviality itself demonstrates what I mean by, we should uh, ruthlessly defend our principles.
Lest
No,
we
I don't think so.
If
forget
That
the
another,
Narayan Guru,
hmm?
the Narayan
I'm an
Guru
atheist and I'm
community
telling you,
has
temple will
started
not disagree.
agitations against such dress codes in temples of South. They call it as something Brahminical oppression or something. It has
No,
started,
see,
in
no,
now
fact.
we should push back on that, right? No, वो हमेशा
Yeah,
वो contestation होते रहेगा. Like that has always been a feature within our own dharma, right? Vad is one key
no, no,
feature.
no, no, no.
नहीं नहीं
I'm
कोई
not
भी
talking
बात
about
हो जाए
war.
यार ब्राह्मणों को गाली देना इस तरह से इट हैज नेवर बीन द नॉर्म.
ना
ये तो
वो
मानना
सही
पड़ेगा.
वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ that you need to
it's
push
become,
back.
why has it become the
विवाद
norm?
करते करते कहाँ तक पहुंचोगे क्वेश्चन वही है ना.
Why is it become the norm? That's my point. Why has it become the norm to be able to target certain groups of people,
Because the
even
state
though they
is
all work
secular.
towards the same goal? It's
Because the
become the
state
norm
is
because you're
secular
like,
that
thoda thoda
ties.
dunga. Everyone can push the envelope, and they've come to the point where they're like, Brahmins are weak. They don't stand up for themselves. So maro inko, jute maro inko. Oh, that's all. You'll deserve that only. You'll get juta. You don't stand up for
Eh,
yourself.
It's
I've
not
seen
that
Brahmins who
simple.
like this.
It's not that
Jute
simple. You cannot blame it on
le
Brahmin.
lete hain.
I don't think
You
this will
cannot blame it
last
on
for.
Brahmin. I think Anand is being
I
a
don't
little
think so.
provocative
I'm
here.
not. I'm not very
The
hopeful.
problem here is see it is a historical continuum. अंग्रेजों ने देखे थे कि ये धीरे धीरे हमें इन पे डालना होगा जो रिस्पेक्ट फॉर द ब्राह्मण जो है इसको हटाना पड़ेगा और
अरे
उसी तरह
ब्राह्मण
से
के पास सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट नहीं है भाई. What respect to the Brahmin? How many Brahmins
because the
defend the
state
principles of
is
dharma?
see because the state is a secular state now which has
No, no,
promoted
don't blame the state
secularism.
for that. I'm sorry, I don't agree.
You
Don't blame the
have to
state for that.
because
No, I don't
before
agree.
No,
before
the
Okay,
Brahman
okay.
state.
see it
Hold
is
on.
the
Hold.
livelihood. For the livelihood, Brahmin used to teach certain things. This is how they
I'm
used
talking
to.
about Brahmins who are not part of that livelihood, who are poor. I'm talking about Brahmins who have
No, no.
influence.
The
They don't
modern
stand up for their
Indian,
community.
अरे भाई, the modern Indian secular state, for example, वो जिस हिसाब से livelihood define किया है, for example, teaching. ब्राह्मणों का मेन एक काम हो सकता था कि टीचिंग राइट ये होता था.
नहीं,
अभी
एक मिनट.
यूनिवर्सिटी लेट मी
Hold
कंप्लीट
on.
माय पॉइंट यार लेट मी कंप्लीट माय सेंटेंस. ये जो
Yes,
अभी
okay.
यूनिवर्सिटी का जो टीचिंग है फॉर एग्जांपल ये जेएनयू हो जाए या कुछ भी हो जाए वहां पे क्या है वहां पे बेसिकली दे प्रोमोट सेकुलर टीचिंग. फिर जो ब्राह्मण जो पढ़ा रहा है वहां पे he is not teaching Hinduism or anything. He is teaching some bullshit
That is not my
secularism that is
point.
being promoted by the
You're
state.
not. You're talking about the state again. I'm saying. Imagine. I'll give you an example. There was we also debate that Bengal debate we
No,
watched,
no,
right?
you
Wait,
had the
let
point
me finish.
भाई ब्राह्मणों की अपनी गलती है.
Listen, let me finish my point. We saw the debate, the Bengal debate, right? But the last person was a historian. Gawar historian was sitting there. उसका last name क्या था?
Sharma.
शर्मा. वो क्या थी?
Sharma.
हाँ?
Brahman.
They imagine ये nonsense बकरी है. She goes home. If I was the father, I'll throw her out of my house. That is Brahmin standing up for Brahmin for him for
अरे
dharma. Get out of my house.
I think उसने थ्रू आउट कर दिया होगा उसका पापा नहीं है.
एक
आई एम
मिनट.
प्रीटी श्योर उसके पापा ने निकाल दिया होगा
Arey, that's
उसे.
not
आई
my
एम
point.
वेरी श्योर.
Arey, Bijit, hold on. That's my point. My point is Brahmins don't stand up for dharma. अब अपना फैमिली, माय फैमिली, मेरे बच्चे, तू कुछ भी करना है, मैं तुझे सारा पैसा दूंगा. ये एटीट्यूड है. पैसे के पीछे पड़े हैं सब कुछ. धर्म के
हाँ,
पीछे नहीं
क्योंकि
पड़े हैं
अभी
लोग, पैसे के
लाइवलीहुड
पीछे
उसी
पड़े.
हिसाब से हो गया है ना. लाइवलीहुड रीओरिएंटेड हो गया है ना. पहले लाइवलीहुड था कि धर्म सिखाना, ये सिखाना, उससे पैसा मिलता था. अभी रोजगार का जो है वो दूसरा है. सेकुलर स्टेट को सपोर्ट करने से मिलता है, तो ब्राह्मण भी सेकुलर स्टेट सपोर्ट करने लगा है.
I
सिंपल सी
mean,
बात है ना.
हाँ, वो
Brahmin is the
सेक्युलर
reason
स्टेट
why
को तो
secular
डेफिनेटली इनसाइड आउट डिसमेंटल करके फेंकना चाहिए. It has
there were
outlived its utility. I think it
there were
needs to
three
go.
Brahmins who wrote the constitution along with Ambedkar. Three Brahmins.
Yeah, but that's all fine. But I think this Brahmin bashing uh will not last long. It
I
will
don't
not
agree.
last long.
This
I
will get
No, I,
worse and
I
worse.
I disagree. It is going to last long until unless something big happens. This is
I
what this
no.
secular state in.
Hold on. The reason why I say this is because the thing is, this is where the North is going to save the South again. Because if Mayawati out there is trying to seek Brahmin, she's trying Brahmin vote, and she's trying to elevate them back again. This will reset a lot of Hindutva politics in a lot of different ways. This
अच्छा, इसमें
Brahmin
मेरा
bashing is
ओपिनियन
not
बता
going
दूं.
to last long. This
See,
Brahmin bashing is not going to last long. अभी अभी 5-6 साल में भी ब्राह्मण भोजन चालू हो जाएगा, गारंटीड. ये यूपी से आने वाला है.
I don't think so.
see, you are being very optimistic, but you have to, when you are talking about social science, you have to understand the social theories. So here is the theory.
सोशल
वो
थियरी
इन
सब छोड़ दे.
अरे let me
It's
let me tell
simple.
you the theory ना. अरे
If
let me tell
it's
you.
very simple
No,
politics. There's
no,
a
no, no,
vacuum.
no. It's
There's a
I am telling you
vacuum.
the exact politics here.
अरे
I am telling you
वन
the
बाय वन,
exact
वन बाय वन.
politics. So politics here, आप अगर देखोगे इंडिया में या फिर कोई भी डेमोक्रेसी में, ठीक है, व्हाट आर द पॉलिसीज जिसको बढ़ावा मिलता है आगे जाने का. सो there are a lot of, let's say, narratives and politics and all these things. All those narratives which lie at the intersection of the narrative of all political parties. मतलब समथिंग सम कन्वर्जिंग पॉइंट जहाँ पे सारे पॉलिटिकल पार्टी कन्वर्ज करता है, उसको बढ़ावा मिलता है. ये हिस्टोरिकली बार बार हुआ है. ठीक है, सेकुलरिज्म जैसे हो गया. सेकुलरिज्म को सिर्फ कांग्रेस ने बढ़ावा नहीं दिया था. उस टाइम पे जितने भी जनता पार्टी दल हो गया, कम्युनिज्म हो गया, वो सबका एक कन्वर्जिंग पॉइंट सेकुलरिज्म था. इसलिए सेकुलरिज्म आया इंडिया में. उसके बाद रिजर्वेशन हो गया. उसके बाद काफी सारे जो पॉइंट्स हैं उसमें कन्वर्जेंस आता है, वही चीज आगे बढ़ता है. राइट नाउ द ओनली थिंग इन विच ऑल द पार्टीज आर कन्वर्जिंग इज ब्राह्मण बैशिंग. सो रेस्ट एश्योर्ड इट इज ओनली गोइंग टू इंक्रीज. और ये एक पॉलिटिकल नैरेटिव बन गया है. ठीक है, इस पे कोई कोई दोहराई नहीं है. ये आगे बढ़ेगा और
Nah, I
ये
think you and I fundamentally disagree on this. मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ कि थोड़ा पीक आ गया है. अभी क्या है कि political
What?
upstarts are starting to see the vacuum.
Arey,
That it will
what are
take.
you saying?
पीक
What are you
नहीं
saying?
है, इसको पीक नहीं कहते, इसे
Look at our
एक्सेप्टेंस
favorite,
कहते हैं.
our best example
एक्सेप्टेंस आ
of
गया है.
no, आप अपने RSS की संचार देखो. Instead of saying that we have to correct historical wrongs for the short period of time when we can actually documented evidence है. He's like, हाँ, millennia से हम what target कर रहे हैं. Like he can't stand up for his own community. थोड़ा इतना भी नहीं करना है, थोड़ा करना है भाई. Don't have so much hate, intercaste hate. Let us all work together. नहीं, repeat every time you have a chance to speak, say कितना historical wrong हम किया है, हमने historical wrong किया है. आप क्या कर रहे हैं? आप you're doing you're telling your narrative, you're telling the westerners narrative. ये नहीं कर
और
सकते,
एक
और क्या करें,
Yeah,
और कौन करेगा?
but the Sang's blindness towards this, the BJP's blindness towards this has definitely created a political vacuum in the North. That needs to be acknowledged.
Forget
This
about
is what I
political
mean by
vacuum.
this. No, they have not suppressed the Brahmin community in the North. They've been politically disenfranchised. We saw a portion of that in Lok Sabha 2024. And there are players who are starting to basically observe this. There is a
No, no,
political
I'm not about
vacuum,
political. I'm not
and
about
it's
talking
just
political
natural.
disenfranchisement.
No, 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 and it's just natural rules of politics that if there's a vacuum, there will be upstarts who will exploit it. वो अभी
No, no,
चालू हो रहा है.
I'm not about
SP,
political vacuum.
no, no, no. Hold on. Let me finish. SP made inroads in Lok Sabha 2024. Then they went back to their old bad habits. That's a different thing. Now, Mayawati is trying to make inroads into the Brahmin community with an eye for 2027. If she wins, this will fundamentally reset BJP's style of Hindutva politics. It will
No,
force
my
them to
point,
reconcile what their tactics has been. It will force the Sangh to also reconcile.
I am not talking
होएगा.
about tactics. I'm not talking about
No,
tactics.
no,
I'm
no.
talking, I'm not,
But
I'm not
it is
no, no,
it will
let me
have.
clarify what I'm saying. I'm not saying about pot. I'm saying let's assume the Sangh's idea of unifying Hindus is a very important thing. And I agree with it, right? You cannot unify Hindus if you take the group, the large group you try to unify, and take one group and make them the whipping boy, which is what they're doing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they've been
वो-
accused of being a Brahminical group for so long, they're like, we'll take this group and we'll whip them.
No, no.
So everyone, we're
ये
not
संघ
Brahminic.
का ये self flagellation है. It's not they're not whipping, they're self-flagellating themselves. वो उसका भी उन लोग
No, they're
consequences
keeping
संग
themselves above
देता
the
है.
fray. They're keeping themselves above the fray. They are targeting other communities. So they say we are the Sangh, we are enlightened people. There are other group of people who are these Brahmins who are not part of the Sangh who are like this, and they're
Nava,
victimizing you. That's what
Nava,
it
do you
sounds
think
like.
Karyakartas believe anything the Sarsanchalak has to say? I mean, we spoke about this earlier. There's a disconnect
Yes,
between
yes,
Karyakarta and there you go.
yes. No,
But
okay.
it is
So to
not
be
possible.
okay, I have spoken to like I speak to few people who are part of the Sangh, and the ground level karyakartas and thought process and the way the leadership speaks, there is a bit of a large disconnect the way it is being done. So that see, because people are not connected with, they don't know, they don't speak with them. I speak with them, few other people at least. So it is not a monolith. Okay, whatever is being said by the Satsang Chalak or the other people, okay, it doesn't mean necessarily that okay everybody in the Sangh is doing the same line. No, that is not the case. There exists a large number of opinion which is against what is, or they do not, is not against, do not agree whatever such Chalak says. People don't agree with that same thought process. They have a different thought process. It is not a monolith. Yes,
No, but
Shastri.
but whether they agree or not is besides the point. My point is whatever he says in public domain is used against everyone in the community, not just. Remember, very important. This is used to disenfranchise every other community, even including the other than the Brahmin. Because what they say is, you people should not live in this community that treats you badly. Even if they are realizing now that they treated you badly, don't live with them. And it is being used as weaponized against every single level of the community. It's being used, and that he doesn't realize. He may be thinking he's doing a very woke, very the performative thing, but he's causing every single level of the community all over the world to have be a target for this kind of hate wherever they live. Even people outside of India are being targeted for this kind of hate because of the kind of the statements that's coming out in public domain. That is the problem.
From the Sarsanchalak, I don't think so. I mean, the Sangh does think too
I mean,
much
the
of
opposition keeps
itself.
mentioning him every time. 3 times, every time he has mentioned it, the entire political groups have been jumped in and talked about it. But when he says positive things, they don't care. They RSS fascist. But when he says something that benefits their
That
narrative, they jump
that's just
immediately at it.
normal. That's just normal politics. But
I
the
know,
thing is,
but he is not a politician, right? The Sangh says we are not politicians. But why are they getting political? Why are they
it's
giving politicians the fuel to do this shit?
this is
That's my
all
point.
rhetorical questions that has no meaning, no bearing. It doesn't contribute anything. वो बोलना है वो बोलेगा, राइट? उसको इंटरप्रेट करना है, लोग इंटरप्रेट करेंगे. वो उल्लू बैठे रहेगा तो लोग उस वो उल्लू ही बनते बैठे रहेगा. वो गाली भी खा, I mean, the, for someone like a Sar Sanchalak, what he says has weight. He'll also get the consequences of his own words, right? Log, abhi, out of the five of us, I think we could say like we are all Hindutvavadis. Does any of our five think the Sar Sanchalak is uh, uh, a figure worth emulating? No. We all disagree. I mean, we all have our agreements to say that he's an idiot, right? So, उसका वो consequence वो already भुगत रहा है. I think it'll be just a matter of time. Either this is the thing the Sangh really needs to understand. Either you change or we will abandon you.
Yeah. Okay, Shasi. One more thing, a very important part. Correct. So people think that the Sangh is a kind of a top-down approach, a top-down organization. Actually, it is not. Sangh is a bottom-up organization. So, and correct, they have changed their stance on many things over the time, over the decades. So, it is not a static. Okay, the way the Sangh thinks right now will not be the same after 10 years or 20 years. Okay, it will change their public policy, the way they see things, the way they see problems are there, the way the solutions are. They actually come from the lower and the bottom people who do the hard work.
Correct.
So the policy is not dictated in that way. Okay, it is first upon people. So the one part is very important, is that the only unit of Sangh is Shakha. Okay. And in practice, in administration, the way it is functions, every Sakha is independent of Sangh itself. So a Sakha can say, okay, I am going to teach the people who come to Sakha the so correct, let's say sword fighting, and they're free to do so. Nobody will come and say, okay, no, you only have to use latki, not a weapon or a talwar. They can do it. So it's a cohesive but diffusive organization. So it has the dynamism, the energy to actually transform and again come to the right track. It gets distracted, but it doesn't mean it will be there for eternity. It will again reform, take feedback, and again it will come on the right. And we all have to do this in our own way.
No, I get that, but here's the thing, right? This either this I don't care about whether it's a top down, whether it's a bottom up, whether it's a democratic or autocratic, a cohesive or a diffusive organization. If they don't change, we will abandon them. Hindus will find someone else to represent them. That murmur is already happening in Uttar Pradesh. It's only a point in time, right? If Mayawati succeeds in reducing Yogi to a simple majority, that barely simple majority, right? वो एक या दो सीट में वो वापस third term के लिए आएगा, then that itself is a signal enough for uh, the BJP and the Sangh not to ignore the issues of Brahmins, not to
Why
encourage
should
Brahmin.
Yogi suffer? Why should Yogi suffer for what the Sangh is doing? He's not doing this shit.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean,
He's actually doing his
see,
Hindutva. He's doing his Hindutva duty.
here's the thing, right? It doesn't matter because this is what the Sar Sanchalak said. See, words have consequences, right? How do you communicate consequences back? This is one way to do it. So I think like I don't care about the how the organization is structured, who they promote, and that's all internal to them. Me as a person outside the Sangh, I'm just telling you one simple thing: change or you will perish. You will lose relevance within Hindu society.
No, but my point is, Yogi is doing his duty to his dharma. He's making sure every single part of Hindu society is protected. He is not. He gave up his caste identity. He's like, I only will focus on my duty to my society. Why should he pay the price? And he's not doing any woke like what virtue signaling to anyone.
Again, this is a rhetorical question, right? He's a politician. He should be smart enough to basically either uh, counter Mayawati and her Brahmin outreach, or use the loss to basically send a message to folks up the stream. I mean, it doesn't either which way. Like Yogi will do what Yogi needs to do to advance his agenda, his career, his form of Hindutva.
It's very sad. It's all.
No, this is
Okay,
the
let's
reality
get
of
back.
being in a large organization. So yeah,
Mhm.
Okay, let's back to our discussion. We'll finish it very soon. So, Rishi, go ahead.
Yeah, Dada. So,
Rishi is,
Bijidda, is he here? Bijidda is here. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Vimarsh also, you as well. So, just a bit below, if you could scroll down this page, just a bit below. Yeah. uh, so Vijitda, you'll love this article. So you can see over here, its title is "The Limit of Forbearance." He wrote in April 27. So this article was written, as it says here. This article was written in the background of Mohammedan hooliganism at Jamalpur in the Moimansingh district, resulting in the beating of the defenseless Hindus and the looting of their property, in the outraging of their religion, and the breaking of the image of their goddess Bashanti. This disgraceful episode, engineered by the British bureaucracy, took place in the afternoon of April 21, 1907. This article, Vijitda, talks like here you will see fire of Rishi Aurobindo, where he chastises the uh, normal intelligentsia which Hindus used to have, also British bureaucracy as well, and the accused party, the party which actually harmed Hindus over here. He chastises the moderates, calling them as hypocrites, like knowing very well who were the culprits, but still advising Hindus to get over lowly passions, aka do not retaliate, be higher in mentality and try to accommodate and so on and so forth. So these sort of problem they were dealing with back then as well. Vijitda, your comments would be good, and Vimarshda also,
No,
please.
no. So this is an event जो सीताराम गोयल जी ने भी साइट किया है एक्चुअली. हाँ गया. ऋषि इज हियर.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so this is an event ना जो बहुत ही infamous event है. Even the judiciary, the judge, they were also मतलब acting the similar way. ठीक है. And I think I have also quoted this in my book. जहाँ पे मैंने मिलॉर्ड्स वाला एक सेक्शन लिखा है ना, इन पार्ट 4 ऑफ द बुक. मिलॉर्ड्स मतलब मैंने आई थिंक शत्रु जो डिस्कस किया है, मिलॉर्ड्स में मैंने ये चैप्टर एक्चुअली रखा है. और ये एक्चुअली सिंस 1905 ना, दे वर प्लानिंग इट दिस वे ओनली कि ये दो हिस्से में तोड़ेंगे और फिर जो ईस्ट वाला हिस्सा है वो बेसिकली मुस्लिम को दे देंगे. और तब से मतलब दे बंगाल हैज ऑलवेज बीन द सेंटर ऑफ ब्रिटिश एक्सपेरिमेंट ऑन हाउ टू प्ले डिवाइड एंड रूल. ठीक है. क्योंकि ब्रिटिश के नज़रों में मतलब एज दे सॉ इट, द northwest part of India was less radical than this part, which we call Bangladesh, not the whole of Bangladesh, क्योंकि जौसर खुलना था बाहर ही था. 1905 में जब आई थिंक डिवाइड कर रहे थे तो जौसर खुलना एक्चुअली इस साइड आ रहा था, और जो मुस्लिमों के हिस्से में जा रहा था वो बेसिकली गंगा का उस पार था. ठीक है. सो दे हैव बीन प्लेइंग दिस फॉर ए वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम, इंक्लूडिंग द जुडिशियरी. थाना वाना जो भी पुलिस ऑफिसर था उस साइड का तो ये मुस्लिम ही रखते थे बेसिकली. इट्स नॉट ए न्यू थिंग एक्चुअली.
Hmm.
The exhortation at last by Rishi Aurobindo is amazing. Dada can go over that. So yeah, just the next page. I think it ends. The last.
Oh, okay, the last.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this is the
This.
last.
Yeah, it ended. Yeah. Yep. This portion, this last para is it's brilliant. Bijit, just see like what he says. The time for pretenses is past, and we must face the situation boldly and bravely, irrespective of consequences. The occasion requires that we should rise equal to it. At Kumilla, the need of organizing measures of self defense became apparent. At Jamalpur, it becomes imminent. The old and obsolete methods of political agitation will no longer serve our purpose. New occasions teach new duties. Time makes ancient good uncouth, and the new spirit that is breathing on the face of the land and that is to bring us our salvation teaches us that there is limit beyond which forbearance ceases to be a virtue.
Yeah, say that to Mahatma Gandhi.
Say this to Ashutosh and Ruchika Sharma.
Right.
Ashutosh is an idiot. Don't even bother. Like, the guy is just not even worth talking about the guy. Seriously.
Anyway,
I
Rishi and
I
everyone
How
else.
did he become a
So,
journalist? I don't understand.
yeah, so Rishi and everyone else, Munshi and our Anand. So maybe we can. I am planning to write a book, Gandhism, as a tool of Hindu genocide. So if Rishi, you can help me with the book. I mean,
Completely, completely,
so
completely. I
let's
can.
write
Hey,
this book. I
can you
think we
add
have
this one
enough
bit?
material.
Can you add this one part inside, please? I want,
Huh?
because no, not one Indian has ever mentioned this. You know Sardar Udham, right? Sardar Udham
Udham Singh.
traveled
Mhm.
all the way to the UK to kill General O'Dwyer. Sorry,
Right.
Representative
Dyer.
O'Dwyer. Dwyer,
Huh.
O'Dwyer,
Right.
O'Dwyer.
Right.
Okay, that guy didn't even actually do it.
That's it.
Didn't actually go kill anyone.
Mm-hmm.
He was apathetic enough to cause it to happen because he
Mm-hmm.
supported Dyer. Okay,
Right.
Sardar Udham is not a terrorist apparently for him, for Indians, right? But Godse, who killed a politician because he disagreed with his politics, okay, and he saw him similarly. Similarly, his apathy towards Hindus is a terrorist. And even the Sangh keeps rejecting Godse. So tell me, where's the consistency here? So is Sadaudam the same? Because he killed a person in cold blood for his political ideology?
Actually, it would be a better. I would say like don't touch pre-independence Gandhi, Biljita. Touch post-independence Gandhi. I mean,
No, no. I think
because
I have
hold.
enough
Let
record.
me
I have enough
let me
record.
finish. Let me finish. Right? क्योंकि क्या है कि there's a certain uh, right after Gandhi was shot, assassinated, right? The government of India went um, overboard
Berserk.
in promoting Gandhi and Gandhianism. That I think is a very understudied topic and is actually much more worthwhile than critiquing or going after his pre-independence stuff. Because उसके लिए audience both है, लोग both है, I mean, critique करने के लिए. But I think what happened after independence, after his assassination, is actually way more important. In my books, at least, is way more important than what happened
No,
prior
I
to independence.
see from the perspective of Hindu genocide. Na, the Gandhism before independence and after independence again has a historical continuity. The purpose is the same. First, the British governed Indian state used it, and then the Nehru governed Indian state used Gandhism. So the purpose, I mean, the objective was Hindu genocide. They played it in a very different way. That I agree. बट जो प्री इंडिपेंडेंस गांधी भी है ना, उसका जो राइटिंग है ना, बहुत ही खतरनाक और मतलब वो शायद रखना चाहिए हमें। तो ऑब्वियसली मतलब वो दिखाएंगे तो एक्चुअली उस बंदे का थोड़ा पता चलेगा कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ गाय दिस इज। इसलिए ज़रूरी है। बट आई एग्री विथ यू कि गांधीज़्म एज़ इट इज़, एज़ वी परसीव इट इन 2025, इट वाज़ कनिंगली कंस्ट्रक्टेड पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस। आई कैन या आई एग्री टू दैट। बट यस ऋषि, लेट्स स्टार्ट राइटिंग दिस बुक यार, मतलब दिस इज लॉन्ग पेंडिंग।
Will you add this thing, but this
Completely.
framing that
हम्म।
I put
Well, one thing
By the
I'm
way,
kind of curious about is like here, this is Aurobindo, right? He's talking
in?
about. he's basically implying that शस्त्र उठाओ, जो हम राजनीति कर रहे हैं वो ठीक, वो चलेगा नहीं. I mean, it is insufficient. I wonder what the social political situation around that area at that time looked like. Because what I have, what I think is that what I have a connect suspicion of is that this is right before the partition of Bengal, and British divide and rule policy was at its peak. Right? So we can sort of get a sense of it because you see like Rabindranath Tagore just around the same time. Um, he's basically established a different Brahmo Samaj because the Brahmo Samaj he went to became too Christian, and the British were basically like giving political powers to all these various Samajes, right? So I wonder if there was something similar going on around in Kumila and Jamalpur, where the British were basically picking all these tiny communities, giving them nominal political power, and basically like suppressing what would have been a agitation that would have overthrown them.
In the article, in between, we have this line from Aurobindo himself. Quote, the adoption of this policy, aka looking away from Muslim hooliganism, what he says above, the adoption of this policy synchronizes with the partition of Bengal. So it has happened already. Partition of Bengal has
Okay.
happened already, and this has been going on.
No, Muslims is one thing, right? But I'm talking about Hindus themselves, right? This is a period when you had Arya Samaj, Brahmo Samaj, some kind of Neo Brahmo Samaj. All these Samajes was going on around that time. It would and uh, just like how the British basically made Sikhs into a separate religious entity by recognizing them as a religion and thereby also giving them political power. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something similar with the Hindu community. Because the partition of Bengal happened despite like deep opposition from Hindu Bengalis in that area. Right? So
And it got repealed. And it got repealed as well. So on the Brahmo Samaj issue, I can talk a bit more. So basically, by 1870s only, Brahmo Samaj had gained a special identity. It was because of Keshav Chandra Sen and his who devised a plan and which came out as the Brahmo Samaj Marriage Act, which is still there in our present constitution as well. Over there, a Brahmo has to declare himself as I am neither a Muslim nor a Hindu or nor a Christian, so on and so forth. So by then also we see a split within Brahmo Samaj, the Adi Brahmo Samaj or the older one, which was claiming itself to be part of Hinduism. That's the one which the Tagore family had in control. Devendranath Tagore was the leader of that, and the new one at that time was the part which was being governed by Keshav Sen and his which became the Navavidhan or the new dispensation. After that, even that broke as well, and it splintered into another group called Sadharan Brahmo Samaj. And by then, you have three kinds of Brahmo Samaj. One trying to say that we are in the Hindu fold, but we are reformist. The second one calling itself universal, blending itself, and that is the one which gave us the Sarvadharma Vada Pav, as you call, because Keshav Sen was expert in that. And the third one, Sadharan Brahmo Samaj, was completely reformist. It had nothing to do much with spiritualism at all. Yeah, that's the background.
Okay, so I think we are end of our discussion today. It was a fruitful discussion anyway. Uh, Tomorrow we have a special episode coming on Iran, the Iranian Revolution. So we'll be talking to a lady from Iran who will be talking to us, give us a ground level view of what's happening in Iran and its revolutions and how it has panned out from 1970s onwards. So do join us for that. It will not be live. It's going to be a recorded session. Tomorrow I'll upload it, and tomorrow 10:30 p.m. we have one more discussion on the challenges of Hindu society and how the Hindu organizations are looking at it, working on it. So we have two programs coming tomorrow, and probably if I get time, I will read one more book on Hindu genocides by a writer called Mrs. Rosidar. So thank you everybody, and last words to anyone who wants to speak before we close up for today.
See, can I just? Oh yeah. So,
Go ahead.
see, one thing we have to be very clear of, right? We need clarity of what the nation is and what nation we are focusing towards. That clarity is very important. And right now, at this stage, there are too many versions of that nation. The clarity, like Aurobindo is very clear about, he's very clear about what he believes the nation is. The nation is Sanatana Dharma. A nation that practices Sanatana Dharma is India, and anything beyond that is not Sanatana, is not the nation. Which means if he saw today's constitution, he would be horrified. He'd be like, this is not my nation, the one I was fighting for, right? So that conflict that he would have, if he came today, that's the conflict he would have. Same thing for example, the people who wrote the constitution. Did they understand what Hindu meant in the sense, or was it like, oh, Hindus are these communities that we need to keep together politically to create a nation? It seemed more to be that, right, than essentially what Hindus actually were. So that clarity someone needs to have right now. I don't see anyone having that clarity, including the BJP. So thanks.
Yeah, Shastri.
Well, I think it's nice to read about Aurobindo. I mean, there's a certain kind of passion and a certain kind of clarity that you wouldn't get from any other character in modern Indian history apart from Aurobindo. In some sense, he actually surpasses Savarkar. I think I've made a lot of unpopular. I made myself unpopular by saying that. Um, but um, I think we need to go beyond Aurobindo. There needs to be a Aurobindo 2.0. So if Aurobindo was born today, what would his uh, new thoughts in Indian politics look like? I don't think it'll be like the Sangh. I think it'll be quite distinct from the Sangh's vision. That's one thing. Uh, but I would also wonder like what Arvindo's own vision for the state would look like. Because see, we have to realize one thing is that he's rebelling against the state here in this case. Right? Now that we are independent, I think Aurobindo would probably want to um, reform the state to make the state more Sanatani, to imbibe the dharma within the state itself. And uh, as we study through Aurobindo, I think we should extract these kinds of ideas out of it, and actually present it as the new Aurobindo thought.
Absolutely. Vijitda.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to keep Aurobindo in this lineage of Bankim Chandra, then our Vivekananda, then Aurobindo, then Savarkar. Uh, but it's a big question ki why was Aurobindo so much silent? Well, I mean, he wrote about the Napungsakta of Congress extensively, but he did not attack this guy Gandhi. Matlab, at least as much as I have read, I have not seen Aurobindo attacking Gandhi, which is very weird. ठीक है? And if Aurobindo attacked Gandhi, na, our job would have been much easier.
I
But
think
he,
like Gandhi became prominent after non-cooperation movement.
but Aurobindo
And I
was
think by
alive.
that
Yeah?
time, Aurobindo
Aurobindo,
already retired and became a rishi.
but he was still writing extensively. So I mean, he could have written about Gandhi at some point.
His later works were all about spirituality, though.
That's true, but I mean, it's part of the spiritual. Gandhism is not part of. Gandhism is antithesis to Hindu spirituality, na? So from that sense, he could have written ki this is not gonna work. This Gandhi non-violence. This is not the path to moksha and all these things. But he did not utter any word against this guy, right? Which is weird. Anyway, so but yeah, so we have to read Aurobindo in this context. Ki, theek hai, there is Aurobindo probably for the first time he connected ki chalo. I mean, just imagine how radical it was. So here is a guy who came from Cambridge, right? And so obviously like Bilet Ferot, Bidesh Ferot, foreigner, foreign educated guy, and in a weird way, right, he's actually taking the stand of being anti-secular, right? Like for that kind of guy of that stature to say কি সনাতন ধর্ম ওই হিন্দু ধর্ম এবং সনাতন ধর্মই আমাদের আম, আমাদের দেশাত্মবোধ, right? This was much radical, and I think this somehow gave the courage to all these successors like Savarkar to write on Hindutva and proclaim ki acha Hindutva is the way for this nation, right? So yeah, it was truly a radical sort of stand, considering the fact that India was going through, like India probably, or Hindu nation at least, was probably at its lowest point around 1905, or maybe, I mean, it went through a very low point till 1947. उस हिसाब से फिर I think Aurobindo took a very radical stand, and it is still the courage it provides instill the courage in all of us to fight for this cause, right? So it must have come from absolute clarity, and this clarity is still missing in the Indian state and Indian politics and intelligentsia by large. So I must conclude it here, yeah, this way.
Look, can I just jump in about the Aurobindo not speaking against Gandhi?
Go
But
ahead.
but no other rishi in India spoke against Gandhi. Not one. Not one stood up and said, Gandhi, you're misrepresenting Sanatana Dharma. Not one. Like there's a lot of mathas all over India for a long period of time. They all okay, sitting silently while people were suffering under the yoke of the British. We must acknowledge that as well, that they sat on their hands in their mathas.
Right, I mean, how it all happened, it is a surprising thing, yeah. Matlab, the whole literature of that time is kind of silent on this issue. um just imagine before this Bankim Chandra came, and as we discussed कि Bankim Chandra is writing कि कैसे भगाएंगे, आनंद मठ में लिखा हुआ है ना कि कैसे भगाएंगे इनको, बंकिम चंद्र लिख रहे हैं कि मार के भगाएंगे, like these are literally the lines that he has written, right? And after that this Gandhi came, and the whole Indian literature is kind of silent on this thing, which is very weird.
Again, a lawyer. It's,
So,
my
Vimarsda,
hate
maybe
for lawyers.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
so I'm
ahead.
going to be the last guy, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
So, Vijitda and Ananda on the point, Gandhi was not addressed by Aurobindo. I will say it's wrong. Rishi Aurobindo made a mincemeat out of Gandhi on the sense, and we get the evidence from, again, I have referred to that book, Evening Talks with A.V. Purani. There are chapters about Gandhi. The first time that Aurobindo, sorry, let me rephrase it. Gandhi is a Hindu by skin and a Russian Orthodox in his actions and beliefs. That was
Oh, right,
Aurobindo's
right. That is
statements.
there.
And
Oh
Right,
my
right,
God.
right.
yeah, and he
Right. For
has
a moment, I forgot.
psychoanalyzed
Sorry.
him. Yeah, he has psychoanalyzed him like anything. He has called him enjoyer of suffering. and he has called him that there is nothing spiritual about Gandhi. There is only moral, aka Christian moral. Everything is Christian moral about Gandhi, and he's a very moral person. That's the quotation you have, and many more he has done. Also, Aurobindo has referred to an instance where Gandhi's book on Gita was horrend, like threadbare, criticized by a pandit in Kolkata, and Gandhi took offense to it and complained about it in his Young India, and uh, Aurobindo made fun of it as well in his Arya magazine. So yeah, those things are there. And Ananda, also you were talking about, right, that there are no people who will say in Hinduism ki हमारे धर्म के बारे में ये बोलते हो, we will not debate it, you will get the punishment. For that, I think you should try reading about Shahid Rajguru, and you'll know why he is not really spoken about. You'll know why, because this guy is not famous only for attacking Saunders, but he's also famous for attacking Maulvi in Jama Masjid. And why he did that, you'll know from his life story.
No, but
So
just
there
by
were
the way,
such people.
I did not say that Aurobindo didn't attack Gandhi. I didn't know that. I said I don't know. But I was talking about the
Mhm.
rishis. Our matas didn't attack Gandhi. So I surprised. That's what surprised me the most. Like
Common
I asked my
pundits
family.
did, actually.
I asked my
Common
family
pundits did.
members.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah, common pundits,
Common but
like the pundits who is to run tolls and all, you'll get their articles a lot more, like criticizing Gandhi and all. They will not name him. They will like refer to his beliefs. They will say कोई है जो बहुत अहिंसा की बात करता है, कोई है जो गीता में अहिंसा देखता है, like that kind of language they will use. They will never use him directly. Like they will never refer to him directly. That's the point.
Was
They
it
don't
No,
do
no.
because
that.
they used to believe कि
Reason I
Gandhi
mentioned this is
Gandhi is a
because
British stooge?
एक minute, एक minute. You know,
Uh,
the reason I mentioned this is actually why? Because in my community, the Iyengar community, right? Sri Vaishnavites,
mhm,
they will talk endlessly about Advaitins. But they won't say one thing about these people, these political leaders who have basically damaged the representation of Sanatana Dharma. They won't say a single thing. And I once asked this question to my family members: why have they not written any critique of any of the other communities? Why are they so obsessed with Advaita? You know, and that's a big criticism of a lot of some of the religious leaders. They're so obsessed with their own fights, internal fights. They could not care less about the enemy out at the door. A lot of the mathas in South India don't care. They've not written a single treatise on attacking the premise of other religions. It's the biggest
mm.
disservice.
Yeah, Bijita. So to your question, they thought of him as a very powerful elite. Actually, if you read their articles, they will like you will understand कि मैं किसी बड़े आदमी को बोल रहा हूँ who's very famous and very uh, cajoled and respected by the British. So let's not name him. Let's just name his views and let's condemn that. ऐसा tone मिलेगा आपको. That's the kind of articles I have seen at least.
Exactly. This fucker was a British stooge. Let's write a book, yaar. Rishi, let's start it. Okay.
Yeah, we can, obviously.
okay, so we will
I'm
finish our
I'm telling you.
session with a yeah, we are to finish the session with a tweet from Mr. Abbas Maldia, who had come to our podcast multiple times. So he's writing in. We all know correct, what happened to Abbas Maldia and his session in I think what Bhopal Litmus or something is there. So he mentions the future will not be won by those who shout the loudest, but by those who build libraries, train scholars, produce credible research, and argue persuasively. A terrific introspective op-ed by Lipika Bhushan in light of my cancellation at Litfest after Dainik Swadesh spread fake news about my session and book. I hope Dr. Mohan Bhagwat, RSS organization, and Narendra Modi make a note of this as such irresponsible reporting by Swadesh has done nothing more than make Hindutva movement a laughing stock. And hold on. And this statement is coming from an author who wrote a book. The book's name is Modi Again, Why Modi is Right for India, an ex-communist manifesto. So this is a book written, this is an unknown, not a very well-known book by Mr. Abbas Maldiyar. Maybe his first book, I don't know. I have his book. So this is the book written by Mr. Abbas Maldiyar, where he gave his arguments. He was an ex-communist. He was communist. He became an ex-communist, and he was telling why Mr. Modi, our honorable PM, is right for India to make Bharat great again. But unfortunately, people lose their way, organizations lose their way, institutions lose their way. So it's all our duty, my duty, your duty, everybody's duty in their own
अरे
capacity
हम
to
लोग
raise
अपने
your
ड्यूटी कर
voice.
रहे हैं मतलब वी डोंट नीड टू रिमाइंड आवरसेल्व्स ऑफ आवर
No,
ड्यूटी
no, no. I'm
कम्युनिस्ट
not
कम्युनिस्ट
talking about.
मैं बोल रहा हूँ कम्युनिस्ट और बीजेपी के बीच बहुत बेसिक फर्क ये है कि
Hmm.
कम्युनिस्ट लोग एटलीस्ट मतलब एजुकेटेड लोगों को ठीक ठाक जगह रखते हैं ये बीजेपी का बात मतलब हमें बंद कर देना चाहिए बीजेपी का पूरे कैबिनेट में एक एजुकेटेड बंदा नहीं है सारे गवार बैठा हुआ है
No,
इनके कैबिनेट में
no, no.
ठीक
One,
है
one is there. One is there, Mr. Sanyal.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
One is
अरे
there.
सान्याल मतलब ठीक है वो एडवाइजर है
I
Arey,
don't
Nirmala
know.
Sitharaman, what are you
I
talking
don't
about?
think
I
that's a
can support
fair
her.
characterization of the
You know,
BJP. उनका problem है. They have political problems, right? And this is not a problem from the party. This is like from outside the party apparatus. I think we are mixing the two things up.
कौन सा
The
पार्टी
second,
अपरेटस ये हिंदुत्व के नाम पे अगर वोट मांगते हैं तो पार्लियामेंट में हिंदुत्व पे कोई बात नहीं कर सकते हिंदू वर्ड ये लोग अटेंड नहीं कर सकते इफ दैट
वो
इज नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम देन नथिंग इन दिस वर्ल्ड इज प्रॉब्लमेटिक
in
भाई
this case, this is not a party problem. कौन पार्टी से कौन रुका रहा है अब्बास को वो बता दे अब्बास को कौन रुक रहा है आई मीन
नहीं
ये
पार्टी
ये
जो
क्या है
कल्चर बना रहे वही रोक रहा है ना
नहीं
दिस इज द
नहीं ये
कल्चर ऑफ द
पार्टी का
पार्टी दैट दे हैव प्रमोटेड ना
नहीं ये पार्टी का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है दिस इज गॉट
पार्टी का
समथिंग
प्रॉब्लम है ये दिस इज द गवर्नेंस ऑफ दिस पार्टी दैट हैज लेड टू दिस कोई कम्युनिस्ट का कोई भी बंदा जितना भी स्टूडेंट हो कोई भी हो जितना भी मार कुटाई करे इतना स्टूपिडिटी नहीं करेगा कोई कम्युनिस्ट बंदा जो ये लोग ये बीजेपी के या जो भी है ये जो पूरा पार्टी तंत्र है ये करता है दिस इज द
ये
प्रॉब्लम
ये
ये
क्या है एक
these
होल्ड
guys
ऑन
don't have any मतलब बीजेपी जिस हिसाब से चलता है they don't believe in academic rigor यार they believe in zero यहाँ से जेएनयू वेन्यू से क्या क्या नैरेटिव निकल रहा है अभी तक कुछ रोका भी
जेन्यूज आर
नहीं गया
डाइंग
ना कोई प्रोफेसर नया निकाला गया मतलब कोई नया प्रोफेसर ढूंढा गया ना कोई ये लोग जर्नल पे काम करते हैं क्रिएट देसी
जेन्यूज आर
जर्नल ना भाई
see I think Biljita you need to rise above JNU JNU is a dying institution
आई एम जस्ट
अब डीडी
सेइंग कि जेएनयू
नहीं नहीं
लेट्स
एक
लेट्स
बात
नो नो
hold on
नो
hold on.
फॉरगेट अबाउट
If
जेएनयू
DD
जेएनयू
itself is
जेयू
not if
बॉम्बे
DD itself
यूनिवर्सिटी
has
दिल्ली
stopped
यूनिवर्सिटी
inviting if
आई
Okay,
जस्ट
DD
यूज
wait,
द
wait,
itself
नेम
wait.
has
जेएनयू एज एन एग्जांपल कि जेएनयू लोग के मुंह में आ जाता है बट जो यूनिवर्सिटी सिस्टम है इंडिया में जो एजुकेशन के लिए भाई तुम बोल रहे हो आत्मनिर्भर भारत है अगर बनाना है तो जर्नल निकालो ना भाई यहाँ पर कोई जर्नल के लिए ना सपोर्ट है ना कोई जर्नल पे काम कर रहा है अगर तुम्हारा रिसर्च अगर आर्काइव में स्टोर हो रहा है और वो छप रहा है कोई फॉरेन जर्नल में तो फिर वही बनाओ उससे आत्मनिर्भर भारत आज अगर archive.org बंद हो जाएगा तो कहाँ से एकेडमिक जो जो रिसर्च करते हैं हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी के वो कहाँ क्या मिलेगा वहाँ मतलब खत्म हो जाएंगे वहीं पे अगर archive.org बोल दिया कि भाई हम लोग शेयर नहीं करेंगे ठीक है इंडिया में हम लोग बंद रखेंगे तो इंडिया का खत्म हो जाएगा भाई रिसर्च वहीं पे
I disagree. The fundamentally क्या है कि journal system सब you should go beyond
सो
that.
यू आर डिसएग्रीइंग ऑन द फैक्ट कि अगर archive.org ने बंद कर दिया एक्सेस इंडिया में सो इंडिया में रिसर्च चल सकता है यू आर डिसएग्रीइंग ऑन दिस फैक्ट
नहीं वो पब्लिक जैसे कैसे रिसर्च करना है उन लोग कर लेंगे इट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम दैट्स नॉट अ इश्यू आई थिंक द थिंग इज लाइक हम बहुत चीज मिक्स कर रहे हैं एंड देन वी डोंट targetedly go after the BJP. The thing here is, again, you have to look at what Abbas is posting, right? He's basically talking about the Dainik Swadesh. The
Yes.
problem lies there, right? This is not a party problem. This is a problem of the party ecosystem. दोनों में बहुत फर्क है. पार्टी इकोसिस्टम में पागल हो गए, उसको पुलिस करना नहीं पुलिस करने को अब तक काबू में नहीं आया पार्टी में. वो that's a different issue. This is not an issue within the party discipline or party personal, basically like poking at Abbas. The issue with the ecosystem, उधर बहुत problems है, वो मानने के लिए तैयार हूं मैं. And it's very
So
harsh to basically
now,
call the BJP a Gawar party. They're pretty smart people up there. उनका क्या है कि they have their own constraints, and that's something.
कंस्टेंट कौन सा
Yeah,
कंस्टेंट? इतना
बहुत
सारा तो
सारे.
पावर ग्रैब करके बैठा हुआ है.
देख तुझे there's governance constraints, there's institutional
कम्युनल कंस्टेंट
constraints,
अगर
there's also
अगर सो
resource constraints.
बेसिकली सो यू आर
But
सेइंग कि जो कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया है या फिर जो जो मार्क्सिस्ट लोग हैं उनके कांस्टेंट नहीं है, फिर भी दे आर फ्लोरिशिंग यार इन यूनिवर्सिटी एकेडमिक स्ट्रक्चर.
कहाँ flourish कर रहे हैं?
भाई
Which
साहब,
university is paying you good money these days? उनको
आई एम नॉट
जर्नल
टॉकिंग
के लिए
अबाउट
भी
मनी.
पैसा दे, जर्नल
यूनिवर्सिटी में जो
पब्लिकेशन के
प्रोफेसर
लिए भी
बैठा
पैसा
हुआ
नहीं
है
मिलता है.
वो पैसे के लिए काम नहीं कर रहा है. इफ देयर इज अ
वो
प्रोफेसर हु
सड़
इज
रहा
देयर
है.
इन सड़ रहा है,
वो
लेकिन
एक
प्रोड्यूस तो कर रहा है ना. वो अगर साल में 3-4 मतलब जर्नल में 3-4 बड़े बड़े जर्नल में आर्टिकल छाप रहा है, वहां से बुक निकाल रहा है, तो वो सड़े सड़े जो काम कर रहे हैं यहाँ पैसे देके कौन कितना मचा रहा है इस ग्रुप
वो
में जो
सड़ रहा
हिंदुत्व
है
वाला
वो. Take the thing is like
एक मिनट
you have to
सड़ रहा है.
realize one
व्हाट
thing.
यू मीन
If
बाय सड़ रहा
today,
है? सो यू आर सेइंग
ne,
कि ही इज नॉट
if
प्रोड्यूसिंग, ही इज प्रोड्यूसिंग जीरो रिसर्च पेपर और जीरो थिंग.
no, वो गार्बेज
डिफाइन सड़
प्रोड्यूस
रहा
कर
है.
रहा है. वो गार्बेज प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है, वो सड़ रहा है, और
भाई
कोई भी
कितने
उसको
में तो
साइट भी नहीं कर रहा है. Even
वही
today,
जो गार्बेज है
like
वो
if
कोर्ट में प्रोड्यूस किया जा रहा है. कोर्ट का नैरेटिव उससे डिक्टेट हो रहा है. आज जो अब ये जो अपर
can
कास्ट
I
में जो
just jump in for a second?
Yeah.
Can I
बात
ask
ये है
you?
ना.
Yeah,
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask Shastri a question? Shastri, tell me one piece of academic literature that the BJP has put forward or Sangh has put forward to counter Suraj Yengide.
is it even necessary?
It is very necessary. I'm sorry. This is where I
I
disagree.
don't
It's very
think
necessary.
so. I mean,
हाँ, इफ इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी देन
I'm
बंद कर
sitting in
दो
the
ना.
West.
फिर
I'm sitting in the
बीजेपी
West.
को कोई पब्लिश नहीं करना चाहिए कुछ भी.
नहीं नहीं नहीं.
मतलब
I
बंद
am
कर दो ना.
sitting.
ट्विटर बंद करो यार. इसमें क्या रखा है? मोहन
Yeah.
भगवत
नहीं नहीं.
RSS.org ये
It's very
ट्विटर अकाउंट
important.
बंद करो ना.
I
दे
am
डोंट नीड
sitting in
टू
the
रिएक्ट ऑन
West.
एनीथिंग ना.
I am sitting in the West, right? मेरे बाजू वाले यूनिवर्सिटी में सूरज येंगड़े आके गया था. उसका अटेंडेंस, वो जो कॉन्फ्रेंस पे उसको टॉक दिया था, सिर्फ 10 जन ही आए थे. I don't even know if it's necessary to counter that guy anymore. See, the thing is like everybody has a certain level of utility, right? उसका utility निकल गया है. The other thing is also a institution like JNU. हम JNU पे हाथ कर रहे, ठीक है. There's a lot of attention, a bad attention that goes through that institution. खाली फुकट हम ध्यान दे रहे उस पे. Today, even DD refuses to bring
नो
people from
डिफाइन इट.
JNU.
यू कैन नॉट जस्ट
I'm not talking about
मतलब
JNU. That's my point. I'm not talking about
No,
JNU.
खाली फोकट
I'm
ध्यान
saying,
दे रहे हैं.
but
डिफाइन दिस
this is
सेंटेंस. खाली
like
फोकट ध्यान
you
दे रहे
need
हैं.
to
डिफाइन
understand
दिस.
one thing. A New Delhi's premier public broadcaster, Doordarshan, which has for the past 50 years always invited some or the other. Their exclusive academic was always someone from JNU. पिछले 4 साल से बंद कर दिया है. All the prominent professors, like the good intellectuals, right? Like Raja Mohan, वो JNU में रहता था. वो JNU से वो फ्रस्ट्रेट होके वो NTU गया सिंगापुर. देन उसको कन्विंस करके वापस लेकर आया. देन दे मेड हिम अ JNU chair. फिर वो छोड़ के ही इज गॉन टू नाउ OP Jindal.
No, wait, hold on. Let's assume JNU is not relevant. So what your argument is that BJP doesn't do any amount of social engineering. All they
No,
do
no,
is
no.
win elections.
That's not my argument. I'm saying
Then
like
what is your argument?
my see, my argument is BJP needs to do the basic governance thing. They have a good framework. Let that framework work. Let the intelligent people outshine all of that. It's happening already. To some extent, it's happening. ये
I don't
कौन
understand this argument.
no, I
I don't
mean,
So
understand this argument.
give me one person who's countering and
UGC.
this global Hindutva propaganda. Tell me one person who's countering it.
let's see who I know a couple actually that's working on
Who?
it. Um, there's obviously Rajiv Malhotra, but some of the best work is actually coming through a grant through the Oxford Hindu Studies Center, and that grant is actually coming from the Nehru Center in London. I see the
So what specifically are they countering? My question is, what are they countering? What narrative about Hindutva are they countering?
one is the
I want
caste one. The
okay.
caste is actually set in stone karke. They're actually saying it was a much more fluid thing. They're talking more about the role of colonialism on Hindu society, like very understudied stuff.
Okay, and
There's a
what is their time? What is the time? What did they plan for? When they going to release this thing?
they're already releasing it. हो रहा है
So
हर
why have we not been heard about it where we can spread it among the people, common people?
I don't know. I don't know.
But that's
Man,
also part of delivery,
see,
na? Just writing
no,
papers in
it's
your
I don't
ecosystem
think
is not
it's
going to make it.
no, I don't think it's also I don't think it's a problem of delivery alone. It's also a problem of focus. हम देखते नहीं है ये सब चीज हम ढूंढते नहीं है ये सब चीज हम स्प्रेड नहीं करते ये सब चीज
No, no,
And so, how
I
are they
assume
connected
why
with
should we be
BJP? By the
spreading
way,
that?
how are they connected to BJP? This Nehru
नेहरू
Center.
सेंटर
हाँ तो Nehru Center is connected to BJP.
No, no,
गवर्नमेंट ऑफ
no.
इंडिया
It's government of India.
गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का पैसा ही जा रहा है ना इस पे
That
the
I get
other
that.
day hold on
Let me tell you, I
I'll give you
don't.
one I'll
Okay,
give you a
no,
domestic
I can
example
go
I'll
on.
give you a
I can
domestic
go on
example
and claim that this
How,
cannot be. Their
I'll,
work will
I'll give
not
you a
be
domestic
published in
example
any internationally reputed journal. I am
no
claiming this.
I'll give you a domestic example right
No, no, you
um
tell me ना कौन सा journal में छपा है?
पंजाब
You tell
पंजाब
me. I am
यूनिवर्सिटी
gonna.
में
I have to check
पंजाब
कि जो
hold on
एंटी कास्ट बातें कर रहे हैं कि कास्ट इज फ्लूइड कॉन्सेप्ट ये कौन सा जर्नल में छपा है यू शो मी मैं ये गारंटी के साथ कोई जर्नल ये लेगा ही नहीं
जर्नल का जरूरत नहीं है वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ
ओ माय
फोकस
गॉड ओ माय गॉड
नो यू
ओके
हैव टू गो बियॉन्ड जर्नल
आई थिंक
कोई
आई
भी
एम
ध्यान नहीं
स्टॉपिंग
देता
हियर
आजकल जर्नल पे
ओके 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 आई एम स्टॉपिंग हियर
बट I'll tell you one thing right domestically भी ये हो रहा है just
Good. It's
a
good that
couple of
you're
months ago
creating this.
In Punjab University, a sociologist, right? There was a 3 hour session. All they discussed was just Dirk's book, Nicholas Dirk's book.
Okay. That's
You could
good.
not, you cannot imagine this happening 15 years ago.
Completely agree. I agree with that. I agree.
Right? I mean, space ban raha hai, at this moment, right? What is everybody asking for? Space. Look at that
Yes.
tweet that Abbas is talking about. He's saying my space is being robbed. Nobody is asking for a handout here.
That's true.
Even you, Biljita, you're not asking for government of India to come and coddle you and ये ले बच्चा
What
तुझे
is government
च्यवनप्राश
doing
देता
for
था
me? What is government doing for Hindutva? Because this government has asked vote in the name of Hindutva. मैं मेरा काम कर रहा हूँ मैं गवर्नमेंट को क्वेश्चन कर रहा हूँ वो क्या कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है वो ये जो
Technically,
हिंदुत्व मूवमेंट
they
है
didn't ask you for that.
दिस इज अ सिविल डिसोबीडियंस अगेंस्ट द सेकुलर इंडियन स्टेट
No,
ये
no,
जो
but
मूवमेंट चल रहा है
Biljita,
इसमें बीजेपी का हाथ नहीं है बीजेपी कुछ
Biljita,
नहीं कर रहा है
no, but technically
I
they never asked
disagree.
for vote on basic Hindutva. They asked for the first term they asked for vote on development. Second term they asked for vote on national security. Third term they asked for vote on 400 par.
विकसित भारत
400 par.
अरे
No, no, not
विकसित
even
भारत
विकसित
अगर
भारत.
बनाना है तो
400
काशी जाके ये डमरू क्यों बजाता है 10 लोगों को इकट्ठा करके भगवान नहीं दिख रहा है मोदी का फोटो दिख रहा है और वो डमरू बजा रहा है क्यों करता है ये सब
performative.
नाटक
That is
मत करो ना
performative.
ये सब मत करो
This is right to do, right? Come on.
they
राइट
are
टू डू क्या
political party उनको जो
तो
करना है
ये
कर
हिंदुत्व
सकते
में मांग रहे हो ना भाई
हैं
तुम
It is right to
आप
do
वोट
all that.
दिस
करो
इज
बिलजीत
हिपोक्रेसी ना
You vote for
No,
someone
it's not
else, then
hypocrisy. He's not
you
telling
vote
us
for
not to do
someone
it.
else. This is what
Vijay,
I'm
that's not right.
saying.
Hypocrisy is if he's saying you don't do it and I will do it. He's not telling you not to do it. You can
अरे
go do
भाई,
it as well.
जय श्री राम बोल के तुम्हारा स्लोगन बन गया है जय श्री राम। तुम
हाँ,
इसको उसको चिढ़ा के जा रहे हो अपेरेंटली। तो तुम
okay.
मत बोलो जय श्री राम, मत बोलो ना भाई, तुम
ठीक है,
डेवलपमेंट
क्यों?
बोलो।
आप
I
इतना
तुम
don't
जय
डिससेटिस्फाइड
श्री
हो तो
तुम जय श्री एडम स्मिथ बोलो, तुम जय श्री कार्ल मार्क्स बोलो, तुम
know
जय श्री राम क्यों बोल रहे हो?
why is it exclusive? I'm not able to get that logic. Why? What is the
इट
connection?
इज नॉट एक्सक्लूसिव टू मी, इट इज एक्सक्लूसिव टू बीजेपी।
No.
ठीक
Why
है,
are those two things exclusive? You can't say Jai Shri Ram and also be focused on economics. I didn't understand that.
नो
नहीं,
आई एम नॉट सेइंग, मैं बोल रहा
राजनीति
हूँ
में
फिर
आते तो
तुम बोल
यू
रहे
यू
हो
विल
कि ये
ऑलवेज
हिंदू,
हैव
नहीं नहीं, तू ये बोल रहे हैं ना तुम, एक तो ओएसी को टीवी डिबेट में तुमने पॉपुलराइज किया, दूसरा बात है तुम टीवी डिबेट में आते हो और ये सब चिल्लाते हो, ये जो हिग्स बोसॉन है ये गॉड पार्टिकल है और गॉड सन
That was
में
hilarious.
शिवा का फोटो ये लगा हुआ है, तो ये सब बातें, ये मत जोड़ो ना, यू ऑल्सो साउंड स्टूपिड।
That was hilarious.
मत जोड़ो ये सब चीजें, तुम मत बोलो कि हर दिन सुभाषितम करके ये सब प्रमोट करना, ये जरूरी नहीं है।
No,
तुम
then you're saying that, see, your argument fundamentally is that performative Hindus, they're not doing anything substantive. That is fine, but you can't say they can't go and do the performative Hindus. They're right to do performative Hindus. It's
and
like
it
OAC
doesn't
doing
mean that
performative.
I mean it also doesn't mean that they're gawar.
so you are, no
Sure,
no
they
no,
have their
so then you are
problems.
accepting कि this is performative Hindutva, so basically you
No,
are
no,
saying,
I've always accepted
right
it.
हर एक का
right है,
परफॉर्मेटिव
ठीक है,
रहता
फिर
है.
परफॉर्मेटिव हिंदुत्व है तो करो परफॉर्मेटिव
And
हिंदुत्व
what
करो।
the specific thing that he's doing, he's going praying
फिर
and all.
तुम
It's
औरबिंदो
performative.
औरबिंदो ये सब फिर हम लोग मतलब किसको कन्विंस कर रहे हैं? खुद को कन्विंस कर रहे हैं ना, बेसिकली ये बीजेपी के
हाँ,
लिए
खुद को
नहीं
ही
है
कर
ना।
रहे हैं.
एग्जैक्टली हो गया,
I-
वो वही करेंगे,
BJP,
परफॉर्मेटिव
BJP,
हिंदुत्व ने करने
BJP
दो,
is never going to fight for Arbindo's form of
बस
Sanatan Dharma.
बात खत्म हो गया।
Let's be
मतलब
honest.
आई
You're
एग्री विद
not.
दिस,
No, but
आई एग्री
here's
विद
the
दिस।
thing. अरविंद पढ़ के कोई कुछ उखाड़ने नहीं वाला है. इतना क्लियरली मैं बता देता हूँ
ओके
तुम लोग को,
ओके,
right? But the thing is like you have to understand his ideas and you have to propose something.
हाँ तो
तुझे हिंदू हिंदू
वही
राज्य
उखाड़ना होता
चाहिए.
है। कोई
नहीं
बुक
तुझे
जाके, नहीं नहीं, सी द बुक्स आर नॉट लाइक रफाल और समथिंग, तो बुक उखाड़ता कुछ नहीं है, बुक से थोड़ा ज्ञान मिलता है और वो जाके आपस में बात करके फिर एक नैरेटिव बनता है। ये बुक उखाड़ने के लिए नहीं भी होता है।
नैरेटिव
और
की
ऊपर से
मैं क्या
बुक
बोल
की
रहा हूँ
बात
कि
करना मतलब, सी बीजेपी के सामने किताब का बात करना मतलब उल्लू के सामने क्या बताऊं आयोडेक्स का बात करना होता है। ठीक है ना, उल्लू आयोडेक्स समझता है ना बीजेपी किताब समझता है, तो इसका कोई
That's not
मतलब
fair.
नहीं बनता।
that's too
That's
harsh. That
that's
is
too hard.
extremely
और
harsh.
क्या भाई,
That is
टू
extremely harsh and very very extremely unfair. क्योंकि क्या है कि BJP has actually done a lot more to open up archives and actually like spread more of the books that have been actually deadly shut by the Congress. आज तो BJP का वेबसाइट पे जाके you can get all these books. They have a huge archive over there. कोई दिखता नहीं है, कोई ये सब पढ़ता नहीं है. They are the only
Okay,
outside. You know,
द पॉइंट
government
इज
of India
सीताराम गोयल
spends
जैसा,
like government of
सीताराम
India
गोयल वगैरह
spends.
वो मिल जाता है, वो
Hold
हाँ
on, hold on.
आर्काइव में
No,
मिलता
no,
है।
no.
मुझे
They
बीजेपी के साइट
prove
में
that
जाने की
They've done that
जरूरत नहीं
effort.
पड़ती।
can
They've
still
done
go
that
for
effort.
seriously.
They've done that effort. अभी
Give it
तुझे
to
ऑनलाइन जाके तुझे पुस्तक, ये गवर्नमेंट का एफर्ट है, ये दिख रहा है तुझे यहाँ पर लाइब्रेरी. आई मीन जस्ट गो टू बीजेपी वेबसाइट, उनका भी एक प्राइवेट आर्काइव है.
तो अगर इतना बड़ा
No
अगर
other
आर्काइव है तो
political
वो
party in
इम्प्लीमेंट क्यों
India
नहीं
does
करता?
this. No other
इम्प्लीमेंट क्यों नहीं
political
करता?
party in India does this.
No problem.
तो
That
इम्प्लीमेंट
is
क्यों
true.
नहीं करता? क्वेश्चन वही पे आ
ये क्या
जाता है ना।
implementation नहीं है क्या? I mean, you can go online, you can read older archives, you can read older
No, at
legislation,
some point,
उनका
then I
resource
agree
types.
with
Right? I mean,
Asli. At some point,
the
people
the
need to implement. We can't be for expecting the politicians to implement. I
नहीं
agree
ठीक है,
there.
ये कर
no,
दिया
I mean
मान लीजिए।
प्रसार भारती का
आर्काइव
पूरा
आर्काइव
लाइब्रेरी अभी,
मैं मानता
प्रसार
हूँ
भारती का
आर्काइव का
पूरा
अच्छा काम हुआ है।
लाइब्रेरी तुझे ऑनलाइन मिलेगा आजकल.
हाँ मैं
This is all
मानता हूँ कि
important
आर्काइव में
things.
काम किया है। मतलब
तेरा
मैं बीजेपी का
जादूनाथ
वेबसाइट
सरकार.
नहीं देखता, बट आई लुक एट द आर्काइव, अपना जो हिस्टोरिकल आर्काइव है वहां से मैं बुक कलेक्ट करता हूँ। सो आई एग्री
Right,
ऑन
but
दिस
see,
एंड
अभी
फ्रैंकली सेइंग
आज
आई डोंट नो कि इससे पहले आर्काइव का हाल क्या था, सो
बहुत
आई डोंट नो
बेकार था.
अबाउट।
Absolutely shit. It was shit. Like I'm telling you, मैं थोड़ा एक अलग era से आ रहा हूँ, so I know how shitty it was, right? But आज लोग ट्विटर पे जादूनाथ सरकार करके उन लोग चीख रहे हैं, धर्मपाल
नहीं, जदुनाथ
धर्मपाल
सरकार पहले
धर्मपाल
भी था.
कर
ओके, ओके. नो, नो, नो. आई एम फ्रॉम बंगाल
होल्ड
हिस्ट्री, सो आई
ऑन,
नो
लेट
दिस.
मी फिनिश राइट। और धर्मपाल धर्मपाल करके चीख रहे। अबे बीजेपी का वेबसाइट में दे हैव entire collection of जादूनाथ सरकार, entire collection of धर्मपाल, कोई पढ़ता नहीं
See,
है।
Jadunath Sarkar is not a new thing. Jadunath Sarkar was there even in the hardcore communist era. Sarkar was never discredited for his work. ये हमें आज लग सकता
No,
है.
no,
Jadunath
Vijita,
Sarkar was
I'm
always
telling you,
there.
no, Abhi,
Jadunath
I have
Sarkar,
never
अगर
heard of Jagannath Sarkar through my
अगर
entire time
इरफान
in
हबीब
India.
लिख रहा है, इरफान हबीब ने भी जदुनाथ सरकार को कोट किया. सारे लोग जदुनाथ सरकार को कोट करते हैं, एल श्रीवास्तव को कोट करते हैं, रमेश चंद्र मजूमदार को कोट करते हैं. वो पहले भी होता था, आज भी होता है. मे बी,
No, but
मतलब
common
सी,
people are
आई एम फ्रॉम
quoting Jagannath
एकेडमिक्स.
Sarkar now.
आई एम
नो,
फ्रॉम
उसका
एकेडमिक्स.
बुक्स तुझे मिलता नहीं था।
नहीं, नहीं, ये बात सही नहीं है. मैं इसलिए बता रहा हूँ बिकॉज आई हैव गॉट हाईएस्ट मार्क्स इन स्टेट एग्जाम इन 10th. ठीक है, और मैं वो लेता था, ये अपना कॉलेज वाले बुक्स थे, और कॉलेज वाले जो बुक था उसमें रमेश चंद्र मजूमदार और जदुनाथ सरकार, दे यूज्ड टू बी एज क्रेडिबल एज दे आर नाउ. उनको ऐसे
बट
डिस्क्रेडिट कोई नहीं करता था.
यू स्टिल डिड।
दैट्स द पॉइंट कि ये जो जो कम्युनिस्ट फिलोसोफर या फिर कम्युनिस्ट ये हिस्टोरियन होते हैं, दे डोंट डिस्क्रेडिट गुड वर्क. वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ.
No, they discredit good work. I don't
They
agree.
do. They purge them all the
रमेश
time.
चंद्र मजूमदार और जदुनाथ सरकार को दे डिडंट डिस्क्रेडिट.
Because he saw Jagannath
No,
Sarkar
no,
as
उनको
communist.
कोट
they
किया जाता
effectively
था.
purge them. They effectively purge
सी,
them. So,
जदुनाथ
let
सरकार
me.
का जो मासिर आलमगिरी है, इट हैज एक्टेड एज ए प्राइमरी सोर्स फॉर मेनी ऑफ द मार्क्सिस्ट हिस्टोरिकल वर्क. ठीक है,
See,
Okay.
तो
but they purged him. They did
Wait,
purge
wait,
him.
wait, wait.
पांच. हाँ,
Wait,
रमेश
wait,
चंद्र
wait.
मजूमदार के खुद का जवान है कि मतलब ही हैज सेड हिमसेल्फ कि उनको किस तरह से नेहरू ने वही पर्ज किया था. ठीक है, सो दीज आर हिस्ट्री, आई कैन नॉट डिनाई दोज थिंग्स. बट मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि उनका एक सेंस ऑफ वो है कि कौन सा एकेडमिकली रिगरस वर्क है, किसको कैसे ट्रीट करना होगा. दे नो इट.
No, Can
ये
I just get in the edge word edge word? See, I understand that in maybe this is Bengal thing, but in South we heard nothing but Gandhi. We didn't even know what our own freaking South Indian people who fought in the who are revolutionaries. I'm telling you, it's so bad. We didn't know what
right.
South Indian people who fucking fought in the fought the. You know what we were taught? We were taught South Indians were useless. They didn't do fight in the war. They just bent to the they just bent to the Britishers.
In Maharashtra, Maratha history used to end with just Shivaji Maharaj.
Arey, not even Shivaji. We barely heard about
शिवाजी
Shivaji.
का.
He
एग्जैक्टली.
was a
No, no,
side
no.
note.
In Maharashtra state board history,
Oh, Maharashtra.
Maratha history ended with Shivaji.
The
I
point is,
never knew
see,
there's someone called B.
the
Bilal. I didn't know there's someone
for
called
Bengal,
Jagannath Sarkar. I didn't know someone called even Subhash Chandra Bose. We barely heard of Subhash Chandra Bose. We just knew he went to meet Hitler. That's it. That's all we knew South Indian.
what the
See, the
fuck?
only reason why me as a 80s, 90s kid even knew there was a Maratha Empire was because every time me and my parents used to go to Pune, my dad used to point out, this is Aund, Second Battle of Aund, Marathas defeated British. Third Battle of Aund, Marathas lost British.
Arey,
See,
we didn't
one,
even
And
know
I was like,
Shivaji came to
and
South
I was like,
India.
British, and I was
We
like,
know we
शिवाजी के
didn't know
समय में
Shivaji came to
ब्रिटिश
South
नहीं
India.
थे. नहीं, and I was basically like, शिवाजी के समय पे ब्रिटिश नहीं थे, ये कहाँ से आ गए मराठा और ब्रिटिश करके? I mean, this is the level of purging that was happening.
the
This is the
issue,
level of purging that
see,
used to happen of our
the
history.
main change that has happened कि पहले ये ओपनली बताया जाता था कि you have to maintain a balance between narratives. मतलब अगर दिखा रहे हो तो दोनों तरफ का दिखाओ कि ये बोल रहा है शिवाजी लुटेरा था और वो बोल रहा है शिवाजी महान था. मतलब जो मार्क्सिस्ट लोगों ने जो एस्टेब्लिश कर दिया था इन द हिस्ट्री बुक कि ठीक है, देयर एग्जिस्ट अ बैलेंस ऑफ नैरेटिव, तो यू हैव टू शो बोथ द वेज. अभी जो डिफरेंस आया है वो है कि नहीं, नहीं, यू कैन बी अ लिटिल पोलेमिकल इन द सेंस कि शिवाजी अपना राजा था तो उसको महान दिखाओ. कोई मतलब ऐसा उसकी जरूरत नहीं है कि शिवाजी को लुटेरा
No,
दिखाना
you're
हो.
missing the point. It's not even about balancing narratives.
ये
We
हुआ
won't even
है.
mention anyone else. कोई और को किसी
हाँ,
और की
हाँ, और
बात ही
चीजों
नहीं
को
करेंगे
omit
भाई.
करो, राइट. राइट, चीजों को omit, बट
We had,
जितना
we
भी
had.
होता
You,
था
I'll
ना,
tell you what. I'll
शिवाजी
tell
हो
you what.
गया.
I tell you what I knew about Indian history. Okay, I have Indian history. Gandhi came from Africa. Gandhi did salt march. Gandhi got shot by this horrible guy. Gandhi is Bapu. Nehru did industrialization. In Indira stood up against America. Rajiv brought technology. That's it. That's our history you are taught. You tell me this is any history that we know right now in the BJP time? So many things I learned about Ahoms. I learned about. I didn't even know the origin of the Ahoms. That they came from Thailand. I researched on my phone. I thought they came from North Southeast Asia. Their ancestors came from Southeast Asia. I didn't know about Rajaji, man. We didn't know about Rajaji. Rajaji, the one who literally wrote who helped with the writing of the constitution. Kuch, we didn't know anything, bhai. And this was
You know,
ICSE. ICSE, okay, best, one of the best boards. ICSE में ये history है.
नहीं, बेस्ट बोर्ड मतलब मे बी द मोस्ट सबवर्सिव बोर्ड मे बी.
no,
I'm saying in terms
subversion
of
तो
like
हर बोर्ड पर होता था. Let me tell you one thing. Maharashtra State Board, 1994 पे, under the guise of rationalization, they removed entire chapters about Maratha Empire. Confederacy करके चीज ही नहीं था. You know what they replaced that with? Gandhi. 2 more years of fucking Gandhi.
you
अभी
don't know
ऋषि के
you
साथ
have to
लिखेंगे.
understand how
ऋषि
much trauma I have gone through. You have not understood Bijita, how much trauma I have gone through the last since 2013 after coming back to India. My entire worldview has been destroyed. You know how much I hate the Congress. I hate the Congress even more because they destroyed my young life with my knowledge of history. I went through my youth going not knowing anything and acting like I knew everything. And it has affected my double anger because they hid so much from me. You feel hurt when the people you trusted betrayed your trust by giving you all nonsense, and you get even more aggressive against them. The reason I will never vote for Congress in my life ever again.
Anand,
Ever,
Anand,
कभी भी पास में आएगा एक झापड़ मारूंगा.
अरे
कांग्रेस में
Anand,
you have
पास
to
में हो.
write it down. You have to have a pen and
An-
write,
Anand,
start writing about
Anand,
it.
Anand, I am coming to your place, so we will have beer and we'll gloss over the trauma.
I
Because
should
see, I'm a
join you
person.
guys one of these
I'm
days.
a, I'm a,
I
I'm
am
a
I
person
am
who doesn't.
encouraging everyone. I want to encourage everyone कि भाई लिखना चालू करो. वही
I'm telling
जो
you,
जो
I'm
अभी
a
जो ट्वीट
person.
दिखाया, ट्वीट जो
Hmm.
दिखाया अपना भूपेंद्र ने.
Yeah,
You have to create libraries. Libraries
exactly.
not only with Purana books but with our books.
I'll tell
We
you, I'm a
I'm
person.
I'm here
I'm a
to
person.
say
so you have
I'm
to
here to
start
say
writing.
don't I'm here to say don't restrict yourself to just writing. Content banao.
कंटेंट तो बन ही
Content
रहा है
banao.
बट राइटिंग
नहीं
रह
नहीं
जाता है. बात
writing
ये
is a
है.
form of content. Podcast
और
form of
कंटेंट भाई
content.
कंटेंट
Video
कंटेंट
form
जो
of
है वो बुक
content.
से निकलता है. कंटेंट है जो वो तो बुक से ही निकलेगा ना. और
नहीं
कहाँ से
अपना
निकलेगा वो.
नहीं बुक से थोड़ी निकलता है. There are also अपना घर की कहानी, अपना local tales.
हाँ
Lots of things are not
वो तो
covered by
बनता रहेगा
books.
यार. वो तो बनता ही
Lo-
रहेगा.
lo- Lots of things are not covered by books. Actually, books censors a lot of things, right?
अगर बुक्स
मैं
तक नहीं
तुझे एक
आएगा तो
प्राइम
सिलेबस में नहीं आएगा. इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट. अगर आनंद बोल रहा है ना कि मुझे ट्रॉमा मिला है, वो जिस बुक से ट्रॉमा मिला है उसके पीछे इतना सारा लिटरेरी वर्क था, चाहे कितना भी रबिश हो वो. तो जब तक ये जर्नल में नहीं आएगा, बुक्स में नहीं आएगा, तब तक सिलेबस भी चेंज नहीं होगा. इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट.
I actually, to be honest, I didn't learn Maratha history through books. मैं हर एक गढ़ में जाके मैं वहां पर लोगों से बात करके वो इंस्क्रिप्शन देख
तो
के
यू आर
मुझे समझ में आया
एक्सेप्शनल.
क्या
दैट्स
हूँ.
व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. यू आर एक्सेप्शनल. जो बंदा बस परोसा हुआ खाना खाना चाहता है कि भाई मुझे वही वाला खाना चाहिए जो परोसा गया है, वो परोसा गया खाना, उसके पीछे तो मतलब जर्नल का रेफरेंस चाहिए, बुक्स का रेफरेंस चाहिए. कौन करेगा वो काम इम्पोर्टेंट है.
वो सब नहीं कर सकता है. तुझे करना है, तेरे पास क्षमता है तो आप करो. मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ
नहीं,
कि
मैं कर रहा हूँ.
सब
मैं बोल
सब
रहा हूँ,
सब
इसीलिए
पुस्तक ही
मैं
नहीं बन
अपने
सकता है.
हिसाब से बाकी सबको इन्फ्लुएंस करना चाहता हूँ कि भाई सब लिखो. मैं मेरा नजरिया बोलना चाहता हूँ कि ये लिखना इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्योंकि यही से तुम्हारा हिस्ट्री बुक जो बच्चा पढ़ेगा वो हमारे बुक से, हमारे जर्नल का जो एंट्री होगा वहां से निकलेगा।
पुचारा दिनर।
हाँ।
Okay, yeah, actually the thing is के भाई दोज हु कैन राइट वो लिखो, दोज हु कैन क्रिएट पॉडकास्ट पॉडकास्ट बनाओ, ठीक है। हम लोग भी उस पर काम कर रहे हैं कि अ, हम लोग और कंटेंट बनाएंगे। तो विजिता विल राइट अ बुक, वी विल हैव अ पॉडकास्ट, अदर्स विल आल्सो राइट अ बुक, सारे अपने काम कर। एंड ऑफ द डे वी नीड ऑल स्ट्रीम्स ऑफ consumption, whether it is podcast, whether it is books, whether it is academia, whether it is journals, या कुछ और चीज़ें हैं, शॉर्ट्स हैं, रील्स हैं, that has to be encompassed, क्योंकि they have a 70 70 साल से वो लोग ये काम करते आ रहे हैं। तो वी हैव टू डबल द वर्क एंड डू इट इन एवरी मीडियम, ताकि वो जो फिल्थ है उस फिल्थ को हटा के हम हमारा जो शुद्ध घी है उसको परोसे लोगों को। ओके, थैंक यू एवरीबडी, सी यू टुमारो। कल बहुत ही दो अच्छे आने वाले हैं एपिसोड, उसके लिए चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें, शेयर करें, और थोड़ा पैसे ही भेजें। वी ऑल्सो नीड फंडिंग फॉर राइटिंग आवर बुक्स। ओके, थैंक यू एवरीबडी, सी यू। जय श्री राम,
नमस्ते,
वंदे
जय श्री
मातरम।
राम।
जय श्री राम, वंदे मातरम।